The story starts with a young girl, Ruri, brushing her teeth in front of the bathroom mirror. Mid-brush, she squinted at something on her head, making her pause and check the mysterious intruder on her head. "What in the world?" she mumbled, inspecting it closely through the mirror. With a furious brow, she storms out of the bathroom, only to find her mom cheerfully making breakfast for her in the kitchen. Before mom can complete greeting her good morning, she tells her mom that there's a weird growth on her head, and she needs her expertise. Ruri exclaimed, pointing to her head and wondering what she had just discovered. Her mom glanced at her, her eyes widened, and a look of horror took over her. "Yikes, what is that?" "No yikes," she pleaded as she woke up with them. Her mom asks if they grew on her while she was sleeping, to which she gets a reply that she has no idea as she was sleeping. Her mom pondered for a moment. Then she suggested that maybe those things on Ruri's head were horns. Ruri looks genuinely puzzled after hearing the term horns. She asks her mom why would these horns pop out of nowhere. Her mom explains that she is not a complete human as her dad is not a human. So that's why she thinks that she got them from. And with that, Ruri embraced her newfound horns with a mix of confusion. Her mom gives her the toast she was preparing for her. Ruri sits down to eat her breakfast, still confused about what had just happened. She asks her mom if they are genetic. Her mom replies and tells her that they are genetic indeed. It's a family heirloom. She adds that she never thought that they would grow overnight. Ruri, confused and puzzled, asks about what kind of horns these are anyway, to which her mom tells her that they are Ryu horns. After that, she eats her toast quietly for some time while thinking about the horns. She just realizes what Ryu is. She asks her mom what was the name of the horns again. She tells her again that they are Ryu horns. Ruri tries to digest the truth before her mom tells her that they are dragon horns. Ruri says she wasn't asking for the English word for it. Ruri's mom explains to her that she is half human, half dragon, because her dad is a dragon, while she munches on her toast, confused about what to think. Ruri fought back a giggle with disbelief. She thinks about how it is possible to have horns, her being half dragon. She thinks that her mom is joking. Her mom shoots her a look and tells her that she is not joking. Those horns are real, and her being half human and half dragon is the reason behind it. Ruri scratched her head, still processing the absurdity of the situation. Her mom explains that there were so many times she thought about telling her, but it didn't seem right to force the issue. Ruri ends the surreal conversation between her and her mom with a simple okay, while still processing everything. While finishing up her work in the kitchen, mom tells Ruri she is heading out as she needs to get an early start for the day. She asks her what she will be doing about school. Before she could respond, mom answered her question, saying maybe she should stay home for obvious reasons. Ruri completes eating her toast and says that she does not know about skipping school. Ruri, still processing the horn revelation, shrugged, saying she did not know. It's just horns. It's not like she has sprouted wings or anything. Her mom, already halfway out the door, calls back and tells Ruri to treat it like any other day. People won't make her vanish from the world because of a couple of horns. Ruri hesitantly asks if she should go, to which her mom gives her surety. Mom tells Ruri she is going to leave now. She tells her to give her a ring if she needs her. Just as her mom slips on her shoes, Ruri blurts out, "Wait. Is her dad a dragon?" Her mom agrees by nodding her head. She tells her they will talk about it later as she has to go now. Before Ruri can complete her sentence, her mom leaves the house, slamming the door behind her. This makes Ruri behind alone to grapple with the reality of her newfound horns. She glanced at her mom's shoes and realized she hadn't worn the usual shoes. Something is not right, but there is no time to dwell on it. Ruri thinks about what to do now. She decides to stick to her normal routine and decides to go to school. She hurriedly gets ready for school, throws her uniform on, and rushes to wear her shoes. She bets that Yuka is already waiting for her. She wears her shoes, quickly comforting herself that she will probably be there on time. She takes a last look at the mirror before leaving it, sees those horns, making her think that people are going to notice for sure. She cannot exactly hide what's growing out of her skill. She runs out but remembers that she has to lock the house, so she goes back and locks it up and heads out. As she dashes out, the weight of her horns presses on her mind. She keeps thinking about the truth on her way to school. Does she think what even is a dragon? Is it a fictional monster? But her dad is a dragon. She thinks what she is now is her mom is a human and her dad is a dragon. She thinks that her mom had used a Japanese word at first, Ryu. She thinks there is some difference between Ryu and a dragon. She guesses the traditional Ryu is more like a koi fish. Her head is spinning around her reality, but then she decides to not waste her brain cells on it anymore. She finds Yuka on her way. She rushes towards her, calling her name with happiness. Yuka's eyes are widened as spots Ruri approaching. She asks Ruri what happened to her head. She asks if those things on her head are horns. Ruri catches her breath and manages to gasp out she is on time. She tries to divert attention from the horns, but Yuka's shock persists, but she nods, acknowledging Ruri's punctuality. She asks again about the horns. Ruri, still catching her breath, tells her that she woke up like this. Yuka squints, clearly not buying it. She asks if she is feeling okay. Ruri hesitates, unsure about how to answer. She says she guesses she is all right. Is not able to answer that question, but says she guesses she is all right. Yuka, confused but supportive, decides to leave for school together. On their way, Yuka, not being able to resist her curiosity, asks if the horns are sprouting out of her head. Ruri sighs and tells her that she is not 100% human. Yuka's confusion deepens even more, but the two friends manage to take the train on time and snag a seat, which provides them with a momentary escape from the looks around them. Sitting down, both the girls are unsure about how to navigate the situation that has occurred out of nowhere. Ruri breaks the silence and asks Yuka if she thinks dragons exist. Yuka quickly denies it, saying she does not believe in dragons. She tries to continue their previous conversation by asking if Ruri is a human indeed. She asks if the dragon has something to do with her new look. Ruri, irritated by the questions, denies abruptly and tells her that there is no way. She adds that it is just a bunch of nonsense. Yuka does not buy it again and asks her if she is telling her that she is a dragon. Ruri tells her that she is not a dragon, but supposedly her father is. Yuka does not believe any of it and asks her to stop saying all this. However, she is not able to accept those horns. She asks if they are real and a part of her, while touching the horns to assure herself that they are real or fake. They reach their school and go towards their class. Ruri gets nervous and tells Yuka that she is feeling all around her staring at her. Yuka reminds her that it is too late to care about it now. She adds that Ruri could have stayed at her home today. Ruri tells her that she thought about staying at home. Because of not being able to do anything about those horns on her head, she decides to try not making a scene. Both of them enter their class and greet each other. When Ruri enters her classroom, everyone is shocked. Everyone is puzzled by her new look. Some tell her that she has cool horns. Some are questioning why she has horns on her head. She gets irritated by so many looks and comments on her looks. It did not take long to notice the new look of Ruri. She tells everyone to quit it. She tells them not to look at her. She tries to go to her seat and sit to start the day. However, she has to face questions from many people. A guy asks her what's with the horns girl, to which she gets more irritated. She tells him that they are growing out of her. She adds not to call her girl. Her classmates question how the horns started growing out of her. She does not know how to answer that question, so simply says that she does not know. Someone commented that they wish to have the horns. She is very irritated by the questions she is getting from the boys. She takes a deep breath and takes her seat. Soon, it's time for class. The teacher entered the classroom, greeting everyone with good morning. This makes everyone sit on their respective seats. The teacher takes a look around and is shocked to see Ruri. He asks her if she would care to explain the horns on her head. She is left with no choice but to answer the question. Everyone is listening carefully to know how did the horns ended up on her head. She stands up and answers by saying that when she woke up, the horns were there on her head. This makes everyone more confused and puzzled. A boy sitting in front of her teases her by asking if she is trying to make a bold new fashion statement. She shuts him off by telling him that no one wears horns for fashion. The teacher interrupts them and asks her if those horns are growing out of her. She nods, agreeing to the question. The teacher asks if she is all right other than the horns. She does not know what to say but tells him that she is fine. He is relieved to hear that. However, Ruri's classmates are still not able to process the horns and try to tease her for her new look. They ask if she is sure that she is fine, but before she can reply to the question, the teacher ends the discussion of horns by saying that they can discuss more about the horns and Ruri's new look later. He then tells Ruri to speak up if there is anything wrong. He changes the topic and tells everyone to start the homeroom. Ruri has never seen such an easygoing teacher. He is nice enough and he seems open-minded, but he is so lackadaisical. However, she thinks that he is fine as he is not making a scene about her horns and stops thinking about it while the teacher is taking attendance and asks about Kaneo being absent. Nobody is freaking out anyway. The session continues afterward and she focuses on her studies. In the second period break, she has to face the horn situation again when a girl asks about the horns again. She asks if she could touch the horns, which makes Ruri awkward. However, she has no choice and allows her to touch her horns as she had already let Yuka touch them. The girl asks if they are growing out of her head. Ruri agrees and says that it does seem like it. The girl comments that it is quite freaky to have horns growing out of her head. Ruri agrees with the statement. She keeps touching the horns. She comments again about the horns and that they are hard. She adds that Ruri could easily vanish someone with these horns. Ruri gets irritated by the questions and requests that she cannot say such things about her horns. The girl says that the horns look cute, which makes Ruri question how could they look cute. While the girls are talking, a guy interrupts them and asks Ruri if he can feel the horns too. Another one behind him asks the same question. There is no end to this. Ruri gets annoyed and tells them that the boys cannot touch her horns. The boy gets angry and asks why would she make such a rule. He asks her to let him touch the horns. Before she could say anything, another guy asked from behind if she had grown horns. The girl standing next to Ruri answers him and tells him it is true. He asks if they are popping out of her head. He questions how it is possible and without waiting for an answer asks again if he can touch them. She gets irritated by everyone wanting to touch the horns as it is a whole crowd now. Another girl asks how she has grown horns. She tells her that she is not sure how they grew out. Someone comments that she must be one of those semi-human types. She says that there is a possibility that it is true. Two more girls come to her and ask her if they could take a selfie with her horns. They don't wait for her answer and start taking a selfie. She requests them not to post it anywhere, but they are too busy with taking selfies with her horns. Just then, the teacher comes into the class. When he looks at the students, everyone is trying to take a selfie with Ruri. Ruri asks for help when she sees the teacher. He asks what is going on in the classroom. Someone answers and points at Ruri, saying that she has real horns. This makes the teacher interested in her horns too. He tells them not to leave him out of all the fun and like that Ruri has another fan of her horns. During the break time, Ruri sits down to eat some food. She opens the food while complaining about the whole day. She says that the whole day so far, she had to talk with kids she had never spoken 2 words before. Yuka questions what's so horrible about that. She tells her that it could be good for her to talk to more people. She adds that she knows that it is not her favorite thing in the world, but they are in high school now while offering her strawberry. She tells her that she's not interested in chats while eating the strawberry. Yuka asks if there are any changes besides the horns, which Ruri denies. Yuka wonders why it's just horns. She makes a good point. Ruri has only got these horns. Her dad is supposed to be some dragon, but she is human except for the horns. She had expected some other features. Ruri is eating her food when she sneezes. Yuka asks if she is all right. Ruri says that she thinks she is sick after all the sweating. After the break, Ruri heads down to her table in the classroom to take some rest. Suddenly, the teacher asks her if she is enjoying her nap during the class. This makes her wake up puzzled by what is happening. She heads up with her hair all messed up and apologizes to Sir for sleeping. He asks her why she is wearing a pair of horns. She is about to tell him about the horns when he asks her to read the next section. She asks the girl sitting next to her where they are in the reading. She tells her to read page 28. The teacher asks her to stand up. She quickly opens the page while also trying to stand at the same time. She is about to read when she encounters an irritation and ends up sneezing loudly. The sneeze comes with fire, causing her book to burn along with the hair of the boy sitting in front of her. Everyone is shocked to see what has happened. They are shocked to see fire coming out of her mouth. They question how she breathed fire. On the other side, Ruri is shocked to see what she has just done. She gets dizzy and falls to the ground. Yuka sees this and rushes towards her to help her friend. She asks her what is going on with her. Ruri encounters a lot of red liquid coming out of her mouth. This makes Yuka panic even more. She asks what is the matter with her. Ruri coughs because of all the red liquid coming out of her mouth. Her throat is burning. She tells Yuka that she is fine, it's just that she feels her temperature is too high. Yuka tells Ruri that she is not fine as she does not buy what Ruri said after seeing what had just happened. Ruri tries to say something, but before she can say anything at all, She passes out, panicking Yuka and all the other classmates. She is sent to be taken care of. Her mother runs towards her to meet her daughter. She finds the room where Ruri is resting and enters by apologizing for being late. She explains to the nurse that she is Ruri's mother. Ruri sees her and asks her if she has decided to come after all this time. Her mom asks what is up with her. She says that she is just swapping friend information in this game that she is playing with the nurse. Her mother asks the nurse and she hears Ruri breathe fire out of her mouth. The nurse tells her that she was told the same thing. She apologizes again for being so late. She asks Ruri if she is okay. She questions her mom if she thinks she looks like she is okay. She tells her that she doesn't seem okay. She adds that the fire breathing is not great as she does not have a dragon throat yet. She apologizes again for being so late to the nurse who is taking care of Ruri. She apologizes for the trouble, to which the nurse tells her that is all right. Ruri's mother tells the nurse that she will take Ruri home herself. With that said, they leave for home. On their way, she asks Ruri if the classroom goes up in smoke. Ruri answers her question and tells her that only the head of the kid who was sitting in front of her was burned. Both of them are puzzled and confused about what to do now. Ruri's mom tries to comfort her and tells her that there is no harm as long as his hair isn't scorched down to the roots. Ruri denies it by telling her that she did some harm. Ruri's mom is about to sit in the class when Ruri asks her why was never told about any of this. She tells her that she had no clue that she would breathe fire. She asked her mom why everything about her father being a Ryu was kept as a secret. Both of them sit in the car while Ruri's mom apologizes for keeping everything a secret. She adds that she didn't mean for it to be this big of a secret. She tells Ruri that she doesn't see the need to sit down and have a special talk about it. Ruri is irritated by the statement and asks if her mom is being serious. Her mom tells her that she had no idea that those pointy things would pop out of nowhere. She tells her that she looked human-like since she was born, so she assumed that would never change. But then she entered the kitchen with those horns in the morning. She tells her that the horns had freaked her out in the morning. She starts with the fact that the child of a human and a dragon was born looking like a human but changed overnight. This is pretty strange. Dragons are bizarre creatures, Ruri's mom guesses. Ruri's mom tries to comfort her daughter by telling her that everything got her off guard. She apologizes for not being able to find the right way to tell her that her father was a dragon. Ruri tells her mother that she does not care who her father is at this point, as it's always been the two of them all her life. Her mom tries to explain, but she continues to talk and tells her that the fact that her mom kept all of this as a secret all this time makes her feel weird. Her mom thanks her for understanding her and tries to console her by saying that she is such a grown-up when Ruri asks her mom to let her out. Their conversation shifts to a new version of the same discussion when her mom tells her that she had met with her dad that day. Ruri tries to digest the confession. She asks her again if she has met with the dragon guy that is her father. Her mom nods, reassuring her statement. Ruri asked about her mom's work and if she had gone to meet her father. Her mother tells her that this business with her had her in a panic, so she took a day off. She tells Ruri that her father lives deep in the mountains. Ruri is now able to understand the shoes her mom had worn in the morning. Mom tells Ruri that she had told her dad what was going on and he was thrilled to hear it. She adds that her father was proud of her as he said that Ruri was the baby girl. She tells Ruri that she couldn't seem to care how she felt. She guesses even a dragon is glad to know that his child is growing up while Ruri tries to digest her father's talk. Her mom tells her that she didn't know anything about dragons, but now since she did her homework today, she will teach her everything there is to know. Ruri cleans her nose while staring at her mom, contemplating about what to say. She then tells her mom that these lessons could have some sooner and would have saved her trouble. Her mom agrees and tells her to keep it in her mind for the future. Still, this was bound to happen, whether she was in the loop or not. Ruri gets a notification on her phone. She checks it out and sees Yuka's messages telling her that they are all good. She tells her that the boy, Yoshioka, whose hair on the back of her head was burned, is also fine. She breaks the news to her mother that Yuka is saying the classroom has survived. Her mother is relieved to hear that. She continues chatting when Yuka sends a picture with a description saying that Miyashita sent her this today. The picture is the same selfie Ruri had requested not to upload or share anywhere. She laughs and says that it has got nothing to do with the horns. Her mom peeks at her phone and sees the picture. She asks if it's her and her little pal. Ruri gets awkward and asks her not to look at her phone. They continue their question on their way back home. Ruri asks her mother if she could tell her what's the difference between a dragon and a Ryu. Her mom replies by saying it's not an easy question. She is not able to put it in clearly, so she decides to talk at the dinner about it. They reach their home and open the lock to enter. Ruri's dragon properties till now are horns and flame breath. Her mom asks what she wants to eat today. She answers by saying she wants curry. Her mom asks if that will affect Ruri's burned throat. However, they continue their routine normally for the day. Ruri finds herself in the backyard, determined to master her newfound dragon skills. She tries to make herself sneeze, hoping to trigger another burst of flame. However, she concentrated, wrinkling her nose, but to her disappointment, only a wisp of flame flickered from her mouth. She asks her mom if she saw anything who is sitting at a safe distance from her. Her mom squints and tells her that it is just a little spark. She asks her to keep trying. Ruri sighed. She was getting tired now as she continued her attempts. She tells her mom she is tired of this practice. Her mom tells her to not be silly while maintaining a serious tone. She tells her that they can't just ignore this. If she is not able to control her fire-breathing skills, it will be a big problem. Her mom tells her that she must learn to trigger the fire herself. Otherwise, it will cause them serious trouble if she breathes fire again randomly. She adds that she cannot go to school until she learns to trigger the fire herself. Ruri takes a deep breath, ready to give another shot. She concentrates and tries to summon the flame, but fails miserably. The first burst seemed like a distant memory. No matter what she did, she wasn't able to breathe fire again. She cannot help but wish she could go back to her regular life when she was not able to breathe fire. Little did she know, the journey to control her unexpected dragon abilities was just beginning. This morning, Ruri is eating her breakfast like normal when her mother comes into the kitchen. She asks her about her burns. Ruri tells her that they are all healed, she thinks, as the scars are almost gone. Her mom is relieved to hear this, but also curious. She tells Ruri that she must have inherited her father's healing abilities too. Dragons are surely something else. She says that she will have to thank him got this too. As Ruri's mom took some food out of the pantry, she had a concerned look on her face. She glances at Ruri and says that burns don't usually heal in 2 days flat. Ruri nods, agreeing and acknowledging the truth of her mom's words. Her mom asks if she has been able to breathe more fire since then. Ruri answers by saying that she was not able to breathe, not even a little. She even tried sneezing, but it doesn't trigger it anymore. She wonders what the initial fire breathing was all about. Ruri, feeling a mixture of frustration and relief, says that she doesn't mind if she is never able to breathe fire again. Her mom, now in a slight panic, says that this is not good as fire came out of Ruri's mouth, which tells them that it is genetic. She adds that sooner or later there will be more fire. She comforts both of them and says that it's okay, their first task is to figure that out. This brings us to the presence where Ruri is trying to breathe fire and practice her skills. Ruri tells her mom that she is so over this. She is tired of practicing breathing fire. She says that she believes it has nothing to do with the sneeze. She questions why the fire is not coming out after all the hard work. Her mom comforts her and tells her that maybe she is out of fuel. She tries to lift Ruri's mood by saying that they should take a lunch break and eat something. They both agree and take a break. Ruri asks her mother what got her into a picnic mood while eating their food. Her mom tells her that they all need to take it easy now and then. She adds that they don't get nice weather like this every day. Ruri, tired of everything, tells her mom that she is not into this, coughing up red liquid and pain. Her mom consoles her, saying she will be fine. What happened to her was a normal reaction. Ruri, irritated by her new reality, questions her mother about her father if he had discussed anything about how to breathe fire. Her mom denies it and says her dad had said nothing about it. With the fire and other things, it is only natural that she won't know how to control them at first, because Ruri's anatomy is fundamentally human. But none of these changes are abnormal, as they represent growth. Her body is sure to adapt to the changes. Of course, this all depends on what's been passed down. Ruri's mother remembers the talk with Ruri's father. Her dad had said that he is not certain what Ruri is going to inherit, but whatever she does happen to inherit from him, those become traits. He had said to let Ruri be free. Her body will learn to make those traits her own. He had advised me to rest easy and to be rest assured. Ruri, mom tells her that her kind also has explosive discharges from the lower end. This is what her dad had told her. Ruri is disgusted by hearing that. She tells Ruri that she is getting sick of his nonsense. so she goes off on him. She had said to him that after she tracked up this mountain, he got to be better than just talking. Worry stops eating for a moment. She then asks her mother if they both argue. Her mom tells her that her dad doesn't stop for 2 seconds to think about how stuff impacts their human lives. So sometimes she needs to beat some nonsense into him. Worry thinking about her mom behavior towards her father is beautiful. She gets interested in knowing more about her father. She asks her mom what her father is like. She wants to know what kind of a dragon he is. Her mom asks if she wants to just meet him. Rory excuses themselves as she does not know what to expect, what kind of a monster he would turn out to be. They talk more about him when her mother explains he is only a monster on the outside. From the inside, he is not so different from a person. She tells her that this also explains why she is mostly human. Rory eats quietly for a while, but then stops abruptly. Her mom notices her and asks what's wrong. She tells her she is having a feeling she is getting warm. She thinks that this is going to happen. Her mom hypes her up and asks her to get going and try again to breathe fire. Rory runs far away from her mother to a safe distance. She stops and catches her breath, summons her courage, and tries to breathe fire again. She thinks it seems mostly human to her mother when she breathes fire. She concentrates and breathes out heavy fire from her mouth, making her mother proud. She yells from behind with excitement that it is a big fire breath. On the other side, Rory, feeling a mix of emotions, cries out with excitement as it finally happens. She was able to breathe fire again. She turns around and runs towards her mom, shouting with excitement, saying she did it. Her mom congratulates her on her success. When she approaches her mom, she finds her mother happy with her clan and nice fire breath. However, Rory asks why it just pops out like that. She then notices and finds out she has no pain at all after the fire breath. Her mom tells her with joy that her throat must have adapted. It was still a human throat the other day, and she gave it a real scare. Hence, she had to go through pain and red liquid. Her mom is very pleased with her success, and being a typical mom, she encourages her for her work and grades her fire breathe. Rory gets irritated by her mom for grading her fire breathing. Her mom tells her that this should be the end of the random misfires, but she probably won't have perfect control over it just yet. Rory does not want to end the session now as she is getting the results. She asks if they are done already. Her mom asks how her body is feeling. She asks if Rory is having any strange sensations. Rory tells her that she is feeling fine, but she does feel refreshed. On their way back to the car, Rory questions if being able to breathe fire could be fun. Her mom tells her that it might be very difficult in the future. They don't know what the future holds anyway. They enter the car when her mother tells her that they are going to their next stop. Rory asks if they got more work to do, to which her mom agrees. The next stop was a trip to the clinic where Rory was examined the day she burned herself. She was told that a friend of her mom runs it. Somehow, they have some experiences with the dragons. So they will be making regular visits so they can check for any weirdness. After that, they stopped by Grandma's house for a chat about what's been going on. Rory's mom enters the house saying that it's her. Someone from inside the house asks her to at least knock. They enter the house when she hears the same question about what's with the horns. Her mom tells Grandma that they inherited them. Rory greets her Grandma when she is invited to get in to have some melons. They eat melons together happily while trying to not think about the dragon situation much. These visits are a rare chance to witness Rory's mom get a talking to. Grandma notices Rory's mom and exclaims she looks relaxed. She asks for the reason behind it. Grandma and the rest of the family already knew about all of this, and they were ready to help out if needed. Grandma touches Rory's horns and comments they are really good. She worried that she could use these horns if someone tried to cause trouble for her. After they visit Grandma, they greet her and make their leave. Things are going to change now as she is a dragon now, and this day of errands drove that point home. After that, Rory and her mother go to their next stop, which turns out to be the grocery store. While shopping, Rory tells her mother they still have their leftover curry. Her mother asks if she would like to have curry with melted cheese on top. They keep shopping when Rory questions what she is going to do from now on. Her mother asks what she is talking about while also looking at the sale. Rory explains she is asking about the school as she hadn't gone to school after her little incident. She questions if she can go back like nothing happened. Her mom tells her that there is no big deal in going back to school after everything. She tells her to let her know if there is more trouble as she will handle it. Her mother comforts her and tells her that she can control the fire now, so there won't be any issue with that when she heads back to school. She then tries to lift their mood by saying that it's a different story if she is not willing to go to school. Ruri replies by saying that it might be tough to pretend that nothing happened. Her mom asks her to go ahead and choose a frozen treat for herself. Her mom shows her the treat she is getting for herself. Ruri is intrigued by it and wants the same treat now. She says that she will go back to school if she is allowed to have the treat. Just then, Yuka spots her. She calls her out by her name, Ruri. She comes towards Ruri, saying it's funny that they are bumping into each other at the grocery shop. She asks how her burns are now. Ruri replies and tells her that they are all good now. She had recovered from the burns in 2 days. Yuka tells her she is worried as Ruri wants to come to school. She is glad to see that Ruri is doing all right. It is awkward for Ruri to run into Yuka when she's been playing hooky. Yuka gets worried when she realizes that her mom is nowhere to be found. She says that she thinks her mom abandoned her and takes her leave to look for her. They greet each other goodbyes before Yuka tells her she will see Ruri at school. Ruri, still thinking if she should go to school, waves her hand to say bye to her friend while questioning what she should do about the school. She is a little hesitant to go to school after the fire breathe. She guesses she will be heading back to school now. Her mom tries to change the topic and asks her to pick the second treat. Ruri gets excited by hearing this and asks if her mom is being serious about it. The next morning, birds are chirping outside Ruri's bedroom, hinting at the start of the new day. However, on the other hand, Ruri is still in her bed playing video games. Her mom comes into the room to check up on her and finds Ruri still in her bed wasting time. She makes her get out of bed and asks her to at least put on her uniform, as it will get her in the right headspace for school. Ruri is in no mood to go to school to face her classmates and their questions. She tells her mom she does not want to go to school while taking out tea for herself while sitting on the dining table. Her mom tells her that it's been 3 days since she changed her tune and said that she would go to school. She tells her that she will regret it if she stays at home anymore, so there is no excuse anymore for her to not go to school. Ruri replies and says that she wasn't expecting the burns to heal in 3 days. However, her mom cheers her up for her quick recovery. Like her mom had said earlier, dragons heal faster than humans. She guesses that any deep wound would heal in 3 days when it comes to dragons. Her mom tells Ruri that she might have inherited another trait from her father, which is to be shut in. She asks her to think about overeating. Ruri picks up her phone after hearing a notification message. She is sweating after seeing what's on her phone. Her mom tells her she shouldn't use her phone while eating, but then asks what's wrong when she looks at her daughter. Ruri agrees about not using the phone when eating, but she tells her mother that Yuka is on her way over here now. Her mom is happy to hear that. She tells her that now she can go to school with her friend. Ruri excuses herself again as she is not in the mood to go to school. Her mom reminds her that she had said something to Yuka. She does not remember anything saying to Yuka and asks about it. Her mom pulls her leg by saying maybe she mentioned how she was whining and moping about not wanting to go to school. Ruri gets irritated by this and tells her mom it is not cool to say such stuff to someone's friend. Ruri's mom reminds her that all her friends are very sweet and caring. Each day, she keeps deciding to stay at home and not go to school. This may cause another one of Ruri's friends to show up on their doorstep asking about her. Ruri is about to cry as she does not want to face her friends or go to school. Someone rings on their door. Ruri's mom thinks that it is one of Ruri's friends and they both go to see. On the intercom, it can be seen that it is indeed one of Ruri's friends. It is Yuka standing outside their door asking if Ruri is at home. Her mom tells her she is at home while Ruri keeps asking her mom to say that she is not home, but her mom ignores her. She tells Yuka that Ruri will meet her in a few minutes. She tells her to hang on till then as she is still working on breakfast. She then looks at Ruri and tells her to hurry and get ready for school as her friend is waiting outside the door. With no choice left, Ruri quickly gets ready to go to school. While wearing shoes, she tells her mom she does not like this at all. Her mom assures her that she will be all right. She tells her that getting up and out is the hardest part. Ruri takes a deep sigh. Her mom notices it and asks if it's that bad to go to school. She says to Ruri that she does not have to go to school if she doesn't want to. Who cares anyway? She isn't half human after all. She shouldn't burden herself, Ruri's mom says. Ruri takes her bag and tells her mom that she is going now as Yuka came for her and has been waiting for her outside. She tells her mom to see her later before leaving her house. Her mom wishes her luck and tells her to have a good day. Ruri opens the door and leaves. Outside her house, she finds Yuka waiting for her patiently. Yuka greets Ruri good morning with excitement and comes forward to hug her. She is happy to meet Ruri after a whole week. Yuka finds that Ruri has a higher temperature than normal. Ruri questions how they are meeting after a week as they had just met at the supermarket. Yuka explained that it's been a week since she had seen Ruri in a uniform. Both of them decide to head off to school afterward. Yuka jokes with Ruri about her messy hair. Ruri replies that she was in a rush, that's why she couldn't make proper hair while trying to set her hair with her hands. On their way, Yuka notices and says that there are no burn marks from a week ago. She tells Ruri that there is no scar or trace of the burns. Ruri tells Yuka that it is another dragon power. She can heal quickly. Ruri asks about how things are at school while both girls enter the train and take a seat. Yuka asks what things Ruri is asking about. Ruri replies and says that she is asking about things like the wildfire shooting out of her mouth. She wants to know if anything is going on in school regarding her. She asks if everyone is terrified of her after her fire-breathing stunt. She asks if she should even go to school. Being half human and half dragon is not easy to handle for Ruri. Yuka comforts her and tells her that there is no such thing. She says that Ruri should be coming back to school sooner than later. She tells her that everyone has been grilling her because of Ruri's last school day. Everyone keeps asking how Ruri is. People ask Yuka if she knows Ruri's true identity. She tells her that it is normal for kids to talk, and the leading theory is that Ruri is bioorganic or a demon who likes to eat her fellows. Ruri tells her that there is no such thing and asks Yuka to give her a break. Yuka assures Ruri that no one is scared of her. Instead, everyone is intrigued by her, and the rumors only get crazier the longer she stays away from school. Everyone is eager to find out which theory is correct, while Ruri is puzzled by what to expect of the people at school. Soon, the girls reach their school. They enter the building and walk towards their class. Ruri is getting irritated by the stares she is getting. She is tired because of the stares at her because of her horns. Yuka tells her to move it or lose it. She calls her the bioorganic aiming machine, which irritates Ruri even more. She asks Yuka not to call her with such names. They come close to their class 1 to 3. Someone from behind Ruri greets her with a hey. It turns out it is Yoshioka, the boy who had her hair burned because of Ruri's fire breath. She greets him back with a good morning. After looking at him, she notices that his hair is shorter than usual. He asks her if she is heading inside the classroom. She agrees, and all of them enter the classroom. The people inside the class are shocked to see her. They tell each other to check it out as Ruri is back. Ruri, on the other hand, is nervous about the encounter with them and hides behind Yoshioka. A boy asks her if she is a bioorganic aiming machine. The boy next to him asks him to stop it, as he can't just ask a girl such a question. People question which theory is correct once she's inside the class. Someone asks if she is a time traveler, while others believe in a mad science experiment gone wrong. Ruri does not know what to say as she is unable to understand what they think she is. She puts her back down and asks Yoshioka if he has a haircut. He tells her he did after she burned half of them. He asks her not to breathe fire again on him. She apologizes for her fire breathing and burning his hair. He tries to comfort her by saying that his hair was getting longer anyway, so he had to get a haircut sooner or later. He tells her that he didn't get burned, so it's fine. He asks her if she is doing okay now. After spitting so much red liquid out that day, she tells him she is fine now. The boys come close and ask questions about her last day at school. They want to know what happened. They want to know which theory was right about her. A boy asks her to help them settle their bets regarding theories about her. He tells her that he is hardly able to sleep anymore except for when he's at home at night, to which another boy replies and tells her he does not see the problem in that case. Ruri is nervous about what to say. They are asking her to help them settle their bets. So she tells them that she is not a bioorganic aiming machine. She says that if they want to know, then the truth is that she is a dragon. This shocks everyone. The boy shouts out loud saying that this is very cool, making others ask questions and comment about her too. Someone says, so that's the big answer, while someone else says that he never knew that was even possible. They ask her what it means. They tell her they had thought she was not a human. She replies and tells her classmates that her father is a dragon. She adds that she is a mixed species kid. This makes everyone more interested in her story. People comment about her again, saying that it's awesome to have such uniqueness. Someone comments on her mother saying she might be one special lady. With that, it's time for their first class. The teacher enters into the classroom. He finds Ruri in the class and is glad to see her back to school. The students start rushing back to their seats when he tells them they don't have to go back to their seats as they still have some time. He comes towards Ruri and asks her if she is going to be all right today. She tells him she would be fine, but then asks if he thinks it is okay for her to be here at school. He tells her that it is completely fine to be here at school. He tells her that her mother had already told him about it before the school year even started. She asks if he already knows, trying to digest the news. He agrees and gives a nod. He tells her she is far from the first case of someone in society who is different from the average person. He says that breathing a little fire is nothing to make a fuss about. The world is full of all sorts of living things. He adds that some take issue with those who are different. It is better for everyone to just get along. With that said, he tells the class that they are going to be starting the homeroom a little early. He asks them to sit on their seats. The class starts, and he notices that Kanio is absent again. After the class is ended, Ruri sighs in front of Yuka. She complains about not being able to keep up with the class. Yuka tells her that it is because she was not coming to school for a week. She asks if everyone is understanding what's happening in the class. She questions if she is the only one who is falling behind. Yuka comforts her and says that she knows it can be difficult as she has been through this. Ruri asks for help from Ruri, but Yuka excuses and tells her that she can't help her out. She tells her that it takes every brain cell she has to keep up with this material. She suggests Ruri to go to someone else for help. She suggests she ask Yoshioka for help as he seems quite smart. She tells her she can't ask him for help. Yuka asks for the reason, to which Ruri tells her that they're not friends, so she can't go, and asks him for help. Ruri tells Yuka that Yoshioka always tries to talk to her as he sits in front of her, but in reality, talking to boys is tough. Yuka then suggests Kashiro, the girl who sits next to Ruri and wears pigtails. Ruri asks if Yuka is talking about the girls with pigtails of two different colors. She says that people of such personalities freak her out. Yuka says that there is nothing scary about high energy types. Ruri asks if her name is Kashiro, and Yuka asks if Ruri doesn't know her name. Ruri tells Yuka that she has a problem with remembering names. Yuka accepts her defeat and provides Ruri with her notebook, telling her they might help her through the next few lessons. Ruri is happy to have something she could use to get back on track. She thanks Yuka for the notebook. Ruri goes back to her seat and opens the notebook, making her sweat again because of nervousness. There's so much work to do. The notes don't even help. She thinks about what to do now. Why do high schools have to be so brutal? She missed 1 week and all of a sudden everyone's speaking an alien language. As if being a dragon wasn't bad enough for her, now she has to become Urashima Taro too. Her attention is diverted from the notebook when Kashiro asks her if she might be out of the loop after not coming to school for a whole week. Ruri is stressed about what to do, but Kashiro comforts her, assuring that it's not that big of a deal as she can tutor her. She does not know whether to accept the offer or not, so she tells her that she will figure it out on her own. Kashiro gets irritated and tells her to do whatever she likes to do. Ruri gets more frustrated by the situation and heads down. Ruri asks Kashiro about spiraling everything out. Kashiro laughs and tells Ruri that this is where pride gets her. She says, why knock herself when she doesn't have much going on in her head? Ruri reminds her that she is smarter than her. Both of them start learning. Kashiro tells Ruri that they learned about cousin last week. She discusses how it leads to the answer. She tells Ruri how far they had got yesterday. Ruri understands the work, and after that, she decides to give a quick summary. Both of them work on the cosines some more until Ruri understands them fully. And like that, she is all caught up with her schoolwork. Kashiro asks Ruri if she still wants her to help her out. Ruri agrees and thanks her for helping her understand the cosine. She asks Kashiro if she likes a secret genius. Kashiro replies by saying, don't I look like it? Ruri apologizes and tells her that she is assured Kashiro is not good at her studies because of her hair. Kashiro laughs it off, saying it is mean to think or say that dyed hair makes her look like a bimbo. Ruri tries to clear it out by saying that she doesn't know how to talk with people having loud personalities. Kashiro laughs too and tells Ruri that she doesn't know how to treat her as well. She adds that she doesn't know how to treat her because of her judging people on first impression. Ruri has a problem of glaring at people, Kashiro says. Ruri asks her why she reached out to help her. Kashiro tells her that she has no idea what makes Ruri tick doesn't mean she holds it against her. Besides, Ruri is cute. She tells her that she chats with people in the hopes that weird walls would fall away. Even if it doesn't totally, still better to be friendly than be each other enemies. She then clarifies that she has nothing with Ruri. Since the school stuck their seats next to each other, she had rather get along with Ruri. She requests Ruri to speak to her even if she is not that close to her. She then compliments her corns by saying that they are really cute. Kashiro would have done anything to have them. Ruri, while drinking the juice she had just bought, thinks about her corns being cute. Kashiro asks her to have a study session after school today. She asks Ruri if she does any sports or a club, to which Ruri denies and tells her she has never joined any community. Kashiro tells Ruri that this is the perfect timing to get a Starbucks since a new branch came out with a new drink. Ruri hesitates about having a Starbucks with Kashiro. On noticing, Kashiro asks Ruri if she has anything against Starbucks, to which Ruri denies. She then gets excited and asks Ruri to come on as it is prime high school girl stuff. Ruri goes back into the class and tells Yuka everything about what had happened. Yuka is happy for Ruri as she is making new friends and getting out of her comfort zone. She tells her she needs a lifeline. Yuka asks for the reason for such a statement. Ruri tells Yuka that Starbucks is scary. Yuka gets worried and asks what's wrong with the coffee shop. Ruri shares her experience when she last walked inside Starbucks. Everyone was on laptops and tablets. Everyone seemed so cool with their interesting lives. She was ashamed to be stinking up the place with her bad fashion sense. Yuka asks Ruri if she thinks that everyone around her judged her. Ruri requests Yuka to come with her and join the study session, but Yuka denies it and tells her she can't come with them as she has a committee meeting to attend. Ruri remembers discussing about the meeting, but then she reminds Yuka that she wanted to have a frappuccino. Yuka tells Ruri that she bet Ruri wants to go so she won't waste time anymore and leave. By implementing Yuka's advice, Ruri leaves and goes to Starbucks. She enters the coffee shop while readying herself for what she is about to see. Kaharu spots her soon after Ruri enters the shops. She stood up and waved at Ruri so that she could see her, a girl with her. When Ruri comes close to both girls, she notices that the second girl is Miyashita, the girl who took a selfie of her. Ruri tries to understand how both these girls wanted to know about her. The girls decide to make an order. The waiter comes to them to take their order when he stops abruptly after seeing Ruri's horns. Kashiro tells him not to mind the horns. They look at the menu and Ruri finds out that frappuccinos are pricey. Kashiro tells her she can buy it for her, but Ruri stops her by saying that she can buy it for herself. Ruri is ordering her frappuccino when she gets so many stares at once from the people around her. The person taking the order is also confused by the existence of horns on Ruri's head. She asks if they are real, and then they have the usual talk afterwards. Ruri gets her frappuccino. All the girls sit together and decide to have their drinks. They enjoy the coffee while Kashiro also teaches Ruri about the work she wasn't able to understand as she didn't come to school for a whole week. Ruri is happy to have someone teaching her everything while also enjoying her coffee. She looks at the girls and then asks the girls for a favor. The video calls Yuka as Ruri misses her a lot. Yuka is proud to see Ruri enjoying and having a good time with new people. All of them have a good chat on the call while also enjoying their coffee and studying at the same time. After having so much fun for the day, Ruri is wiped out due to studying so much. Kashiro tells her to call it a day. Miyashita comments that it was too much for them to study every subject in one go. Ruri says a heartful thanks to Kashiro and tells her she needs help. She says she never knew studying could be so fun. She had enjoyed her time with the girls. Miyashita says she feels like she didn't contribute at all. Kashiro laughs at Miyashita by saying that maths makes her eyes glaze over. Miyashita tells her it is rude to say such a thing and laugh too. Kashiro says to Ruri they should have another study session like this. Ruri thinks about it and hesitantly asks if they are not scared of her. They look at her with confusion. Ruri explains that they are sitting here studying as if everything is normal except that she is a breathing dragon. She says that thinks it is a little scary hanging out with her. She adds that even she doesn't know when the next crazy dragon thing might happen to her. Everyone at school acted like it was no big deal. She can't help but wonder what's on everyone's mind. Kashiro tells her it is more fun than scary to hang out with Ruri. Mayashida says that it is a little scary, but she is not sure. Ruri listens to their thoughts about her and starts drinking her coffee again. Kashiro looks at her smiling. She tells her that it is a little scary, but hearing what her mom had to say got her thinking about stuff. Ruri looks at Kashiro, questioning what she meant by that. Before she could ask, Kashiro tells Ruri that her mom came to school after that little fire incident and talked to the whole class. She started with a little bow. She said that, as we all had guessed, Ruri is no ordinary human. She apologized for keeping it a secret while everyone was listening silently and with confusion. She promised to do something about the fire breathing and said she was already talking it all over with Yoshioka. So they knew that you and your family were working on it during her time off. That made them realize that there is nothing to be scared of. Ruri looks at her with confusion. Kashiro asks if Ruri is scared herself, as she is learning about all this along with the rest of them. She doesn't reply to Kashiro's question. Kashiro hugs Ruri, asking her not to go all antisocial because she is scared of what is happening right now. She showed up back at school because she figured out the fire breath. She assures Ruri and tells her not to think about what others are thinking about her. Mayashida laughs at Kashiro for hugging Riru, while Riru asks for some personal space and to stop hugging her. She is relieved once Kashiro stops. Riru realizes that they are all just so decent, which she never would have known if she had put herself out there. With that, all of them decide to call it a day and leave for their homes. Riru thinks about how her mom is always pulling these strings behind the scenes. That's the only reason they are all so weirdly willing to accept her. Ruri reaches her home while thinking about her mom's efforts for her. She hears her mom talking about how she had told her there wouldn't be any more secrets. She enters the house. Her mom sees her sitting on the dining table doing some work on her laptop. Ruri happily announces she is home and takes off her shoes. Her mom comes in and greets her. She laughs at Ruri coming so late after school. Ruri apologizes, but her mom shrugs it off as she is very happy for her. She asks if she had fun studying. Ruri gives a nod and smiles to show her satisfaction with the study session. Ruri asks her mom how her teacher knew about the dragon stuff already. Mom apologized for not telling her about it and said that she figured the school should be aware, just in case. Ruri laughs at the fact that the just in case happened, to which her mom agrees. She comes into the kitchen and sees the food. She asks her mom if it is what she is thinking. Her mom tells her that she made takoyaki tonight. She asks her to shower first so that they can have dinner. After taking a good shower, Ruri's mom takes out food for Ruri and gives it to her. She likes the food and laughs at her mom, saying that she is trying to show off her osaken skills. Her mom tells her she can teach her next time. Her mom tells her this is ice once in a while to have such dinner. Ruri is busy eating the food, which tastes yummy but hot. Her mom tells her to be careful as they just left the pan. She laughs at her daughter for being able to breathe fire but not being able to handle hot food. Ruri enjoys the delicious food when her mom asks her about school. She asks how the day went. Ruri nods approving for the day, then explains that initially her classmates were calling her bioorganic aiming machine. Her mom questions what that means, to which Ruri explains that this whole past week they were placing bets on what sort of inhuman creature she is. Her mom comments that high school students are a breed apart. Ruri tells her that it is like they don't care about anything at all or care very little. But for them, it's more exciting than anything. Her mom asks if it was tough handling all their questions and comments regarding her. Ruri denies and says that she didn't hate their comments. Ruri's mom offers more food to her. Ruri reminds her mom that she is supposed to eat too, which she forgot because of stress related to her daughter. Ruri continues by saying that she guesses a fire-breathing semi-human isn't that big of a deal. She asks her mom what she is thinking and feeling now is stuff that even the most ordinary people deal with all their lives. Ruri's mom tells her that all these concerns are distinctly human, even for a half-dragon. Ruri is to herself, mom says, assuring her daughter while she finishes her dinner. After dinner, her mom takes a deep stretch, then says she is ready to have a gaming session as she had a tough work day. Ruri asks her to let her play too. Her mom allows her to be okay with her. She asks her to haul the table out of their way and get the cushions out. She sits down to take out the game, but instead gets confused and asks what game they are playing. She asks if Ruri would like to play Mario, to which she denies as the game is very old. She takes out a game, saying she never won the game. She says that it will be amazing to play in duel mode. They start the game when her mom comments saying the graphics are making her eyes itch. She does not understand how the stuff people put out these days is so wild. They set their game accordingly and then start the game. Rory's mom tells her not to steal her mushroom. Rory asks her not to toss her in the pit. She comments on her mom's game and says she made her vanish and lose. Just then, her mom also vanishes from the game, which shocks her mom but makes Rory laugh hard. She tells her mom she is just never going to pass that point alone as it's just deserts. She laughs at her mom for making her lose the game. Both of them laugh a lot at each other and play the game, enjoying their time and making good memories. They win their game at last and are relieved. Rory takes a deep breath and her mom notices it. She asks what it is. Rory questions if there is more stuff she is going to inherit from her father. Her mom agrees and tells her this is true. However, they are not sure what traits she is going to inherit. Rory hopes that it doesn't happen like the fire-breathing incident. Her mom tells her that if she notices any signs or omens of something else, there might be a way to block it. Rory asks what kind of omen. Her mom explains and tells her that she will lay some groundwork before the next trait pops up. She assures her that they will figure it out. She asks Rory not to worry too much about it. Rory nods while still concerned about what will happen next. But she hopes that whatever happens, she wishes to go to school. Her mom laughs at her and reminds her how she wasn't willing to go to school in the morning. Rory gets embarrassed and asks her to quit it. The next day, it is raining heavily when Rory is about to leave for school. Her mom asks her not to forget an umbrella or she will get wet out there. She asks her to be sure to bring the umbrella back home as well. Otherwise, she will be stuck with Katana one next time. Rory shows disgust as doesn't like such kind of umbrella. Rory packs her bags and wears her shoes to start the new day. Both of them say goodbye to each other to start their day. Rory goes out to go to school. The rainy season is here. It's the worst of all the weather as it gives Rory a headache. Yuka and Rory go together to school while discussing about weather and Rory's headache. Yuka asks Rory if she is feeling okay as she might be having a headache. Rory tells her that she had taken a painkiller earlier. She asks Yuka if the pressure drop doesn't mess her up. Yuka answers by saying she hasn't noticed anything till now. Rory laughs at her and says she is jealous of her in this regard. Yuka notices that Rory has a fresh look. It's the first time she has swapped out part of her uniform in high school. Rory explains that the blazer was weighing her down, so the change feels great. Yuka tells her that a vest would work perfectly as it screams high school girl. Rory gets annoyed by the statement and asks her to stop talking like that. She apologizes before they can reach the school. Both girls close their umbrellas and enter the school building. Yuka asks Rory about the study session she had yesterday. Rory tells her that she had a lot of fun. She even added those girls all online, and they said they should make it a regular thing as they enjoyed it a lot. Yuka is happy to hear this. She asks if she could join them next time. Rory laughs, saying she is not sure about allowing her to come with them after she turned her down last time. Yuka laughs too, asking if Rory is holding any grudges. They enter the school, and people start staring at Rory and talking about her corns. Some say it is popping out of her head, while others say it might be just a hairband. They talk about her fire-breathing experience too. Someone thinks that she is cute. She has to go through many comments regarding her. Everyone keeps calling her dragon. This annoys Rory a lot. Some don't even bother saying the complete word. She asks them to at least the whole word. Yuka notices everything and asks if Rory is all right. She nods, assuring Yuka that she is fine. They enter the classroom and sit on their respective chairs. A boy comes to her asking what a dragon is. He asks if they exist. Yoshioka asks her if she is telling them that the dragons are not fictional. She gets annoyed and asks him why he is asking so many questions now when he is ready to believe it yesterday. He tells her that he believes it because they got caught up in the hype. She asks Yoshioka if her mother didn't use the term dragon when she came to the class after the fire incident. He replies by saying that she sure did come to the class, but she told them to wait for the big reveal. She had told them to ask Rory to her face, which started the whole guessing game. Rory gets awkward and embarrassed after hearing that. Her mom was way too considerate in this matter. Yoshioka asks the question again about what a dragon is. He asks her if they are out there somewhere and what they look like. She tells him she does not know anything. She says that it's not like she ever met one. She is in the dark too, just like the rest of them. The boy next to Yoshioka comes out with a shock, asking how come she has never met a dragon before. He asks if she is not allowed to meet a dragon or if is it something else. She tells him that she is not forbidden to meet a dragon. Yoshioka asks the boy to calm down as there are all kinds of families. She does not know what to say anymore regarding the matter. She asks Yoshioka if he would like to touch her horns. He gets nervous and asks why she did not allow him before and if she wants him to check her horns now. She tells him that it is kind of an apology for her hair. He tells her that he was only joking. He adds that whether she has horns or not, he doesn't mind. She tells her it's just horns. There is no big deal with having horns. He agrees to check them while also freaking out. The boy next to him is very hyped up as he wants to touch them too. Yoshioka touches the horns and finds out they are like steel. The horns are weirdly cold. He thinks that they are very dangerous. Just then, Kashiro comes in asking him not to touch Ruri's horns. He calms her down by telling her Ruri gave her permission. After hearing this, Kashiro says she wants to touch the horns too. Ruri reminds her that she already got to touch them last week. Kashiro makes Yoshioka leave and starts touching Ruri's horns. She finds them nice and cold to touch. The boy, still wanting to check the horns, keeps asking when it's going to be his turn. Ruri permits him to check her horns. He touches them carefully and is shocked. Yuka laughs at Ruri for being so popular now. A girl says that Ruri changed a lot and pulled an 80, but Yuka denies it by saying she's always been like this. Ruri leads with a wall, but once the wall is down, she can be social. She adds that Ruri is likable. It would be great if lots of kids got to know this side of her. Mayashida says that letting others touch her horns for free isn't nice. Yuka stands up saying she will put a stop to it. She says that Ruri could use a dose of self-awareness. She then beats Ruri and tells her that those big horns gave her a big head, but she is still an amateur at socializing. Ruri tries to argue, but before she can say anything, Yuka tells her that all that skinship with boys is out of line. She adds that she thought she wasn't comfortable with boys. Ruri questions if the horns count as skin, as it's not confirmed by anyone yet. Their days go by quickly afterward. During lunchtime, Yuka and Ruri sit together to have some lunch. Yuka asks Ruri what she has bought for lunch. Ruri tells her that she bought an onigiri. Yuka tells her she eats like a bird. Just then, Kashiro comes and asks if she could join them. Ruri asks about the girl who is with Kashmir. Kashiro tells her that the girl is Maida. It seems like Maida is scared of Ruri. She tells Kashiro that she would eat with other girls. She apologizes and leaves. Ruri notices everything and asks if Maida is scared of her. Kashiro apologizes and tells her it seems that way. She hopes Ruri doesn't feel too insulted. While munching on her lunch, Ruri says she can't blame the girl as she is the one who breathes fire. In some ways, she is sorry for everything. Kashiro says that it was her fault as she was the one who put Maida on the spot. She sits down and asks Ruri about her progress regarding the fire breathing. Yuka gives a good bite to Ruri to eat while she answers Kashiro's question. She says that there isn't much progress after the first time, but there won't be more misfires anymore. She tells them that she has been practicing every day, so she has pretty much control over it now. The thing is, when it is ready to come out, she can control it, but when it's not, she has no way to force it. Kashiro says that the inner workings are still a mystery, but she is glad that there won't be any red liquid, which is awesome. Kashiro asks if she added Yuka online, and she adds her after not finding her there. Ruri guesses they have never hung out. Kashiro comments to Yuka about her username. Yuka responds by telling her that it was Ruri's idea to add kanji for the floor in the username. Kashiro laughs at Ruri's sense of humor. Kashiro tells her friends that when she stops to think about it, it's pretty wild that they have got a non-human organism for a classmate. Yuka points out that Ruri is half human. Hearing this, Ruri gets why people would be scared or creeped out because of her, even if she is scared. Amid their conversation, Kashiro's eyes sparkled with excitement as an idea popped into her mind. Leaning over to Ruri, she says that they should dig into the whole dragon deal and try to figure out the deal behind the flame breath and horns. It might make Ruri's life easier, and who knows, maybe Maida might be interested in the research too. They would do dragon research together, which will not only allow them to gain knowledge, but they can also have fun as well. Ruri is intrigued by the idea and decides to go ahead and give it a try. The next class started, and the teacher droned on about math, but Yuka found it difficult to focus on the lecture. The air seemed to be charged with some unusual energy, and she noticed her hair going crazy. She looks around and gets confused when she notices that everyone's hair is going crazy. Miyashita also notices the unusual behavior of hair and suggests it might be because of the rain. But Yuka sensed that it is more like static electricity. Her attention is diverted when she hears Yoshioka laughing at Ruri, who seems to be a victim of the hair-raising phenomenon. Yuka looked closely and her eyes widened in shock as she discovered a third dragon trait. Ruri was experiencing an electromagnetic discharge, leaving everyone wondering how many surprises lay hidden in the newly found secret of Ruri's dragon heritage. Yuka is in quite a shock after seeing the electromagnetic discharge from Ruri. Yoshioka tells Ruri that something is leaking out of her. Still in shock, Ruri thanks him for letting her know even though she can see it already. Soon, everyone in the class starts to talk about her sparks. Ruri is surprised and questions if these sparks are really coming out of her. Yuka calls the teacher, who is still busy writing on the board. She lets the teacher know that something is wrong with Ruri. Ruri's classmate asks bizarre questions like if she is going to survive this. Already confused, she answers them by saying how is she supposed to know that? She is rethinking her life at this moment and questions what's up with her making this electricity all of a sudden. She looks around in the class and realizes that her vision is all weird. Soon, the sparks coming out from Ruri settle down on their own. The teacher asks her if she is good. Ruri apologizes to the teacher and her classmates and sits down in her seat. The teacher asks Ruri to visit the nurse after the class just to be safe and continues with his lessons as if nothing happened while the whole class is still talking about Ruri's electromagnetic sparks. Ruri sits there in awkwardness the whole time, now wondering what was that shock of electricity discharge about. She wonders if it might be related to the dragon thing. One of her classmates comments that Ruri isn't even human anymore, while another one says she could beat crime with her meta powers. This whole time, Yuka keeps checking on Ruri as she is very worried about her. After the class ends, Yuka asks Ruri what had happened. Ruri replies saying she doesn't know anything. If she had any clue, she would have come prepared. She wishes someone told her about it earlier. Yuka suggests to Ruri that she should talk to her mother about it. With that, Ruri calls her mom and asks if one of her dragon traits involves her body shooting off an electric spark. Her mom is shaken to know about the electricity thing. Ruri asks Yuka if she should put her mom on speaker. Yuka agrees, and then the two listen to Ruri talking to her mom. Ruri explains everything about how things went in the classroom regarding her new trait. Yuka tells Aoki, Ruri's mother, that she saw everything. The classroom was basically charged with static. She asks if this is linked to one of Ruri's traits. Still busy with her office work, Aoki asks Ruri to hold on a second and lets her know she believes she knows what is happening. She tells Ruri that there is nothing to worry about. While Ruri is confused about how there is nothing to worry about when literally she generated electricity out of nowhere. Aoki tells Ruri that her best guess is that it is linked to a particular dragon trait. But it is not dangerous on its own. She asks Ruri to try and not to trigger it, and she should be good. She apologizes to Aoki for being busy and lets her know that she will give the details when they get back home. She says she can come and get Ruri if she is still anxious, but Ruri rejects the offer. Aoki leaves Ruri in Yuka's care and lets the girls know that they have permission to run towards the hills if something happens. She ends the call after asking Ruri to call her if something comes up again. After that, Aoki stands in front of the printing machine while her colleagues ask her for the copies, worrying about her daughter. On the other hand, Yuka cheers Ruri on her situation and lets her know that at least her mom, Aoki, has some idea of what is happening. But Ruri sits on the ground abruptly. She is exhausted because of one shock after another. She says being non-human isn't exactly a walk in the park. While Yuka asks Ruri to stand up as the floor is filthy, Ruri says with each passing day, she drifts farther from humanity. She asks Yuka if she still wants to be friends with someone like her. She says she thought she could handle this because nobody else minded, but this stuff is getting hard for her to ignore. Yuka calms Ruri by saying that she will just have to figure things out on the get-go, as life as a half-dragon is going to be tricky. Ruri says she knew this in theory, but now when she is dealing with it, it is very difficult for her. Yuka says Ruri's situation doesn't bother her, and because of that, they will always be friends. Ruri thinks she will have to be on her toes for the rest of the day. Just then, their classmate comes towards them asking them to hurry up as it is almost time for class. She also apologizes for not studying as a group today as the teacher told her to stay after class. She says Yuka can also join them in the study session next time. With that, the trio goes inside the class and study for the rest of the day. After the class ends, it starts raining. Ruri is about to leave when she is asked to be put on cleanup duty as one of today's assigned helpers is absent. Annoyed, Ruri asks why it has to be her. The teacher says that it is because she came into view because of her horns. He then informs the girl, Maida, already cleaning, that Ruri will be helping her. Maida from the cafe is a little surprised to know about Ruri's help / the teacher asks the two if they don't get along, but the girl denies, and they both get to work. With no choice left, the girls begin to clean the classroom. The environment is quite tense between the two. Ruri tries to talk to Maida and asks if her helper buddy is supposed to be Kanao, who hasn't shown up in a while. She asks why is Kanao absent all the time and asks Maida if she heard anything from Kanao. But Maida doesn't say a word. Irritated, Ruri realizes that Maida is trying to ice her out. She asks Maida if she has anything against her, but Maida denies it. Ruri then asks Maida why is she ignoring her. She points out how Maida took one look at her during lunch and noped out. She says she won't get what Maida's issue is if she doesn't tell her. Ruri asks what has she ever done. She asks if it has something to do with her horns. But Maida asks Ruri to just stop and just not talk to her, shocking Ruri. With that, the two clean the classroom silently for the rest of the time. After that weird cleaning session, Ruri takes the train and then walks back home. When she enters the house, she is soaked in water. Aoki looks at Ruri asking if everything went okay after they talked. She asks if something happened, but Ruri denies it. Aoki asks Ruri if she wants to shower first as she is soaked through. Ruri says she will shower later and will just change for now. Aoki says they should then sit down for a chat and drink something. After some discussion on what they should drink, Aoki and Ruri sit down and discuss the matter of that electricity thing. Ruri asks Aoki what mutant power is she blessed with now. As if things were already enough for today, Aoki breaks the news and lets Ruri know that dragons can call lightning. The next day, Ruri gets up a little late at around 13:10. When she gets out of her room, Aoki is already packing Ruri's bag. Aoki asks Ruri to hurry up as they don't have the whole day to get ready. She asks if Ruri wants some breakfast, to which Ruri delightfully agrees. With that, Aoki makes breakfast while Ruri ishes up. After that, Aoki gives Ruri her bag. She asks if Ruri has packed everything. Ruri gives a not-so-assuring answer, to which Aoki tells her not to switch off her brain just because it is the weekend. The two ladies get into the car and Aoki decides to make a stop by the corner store before they continue their journey. Aoki tries to cheer up Ruri and offers a picnic as they have been blessed with the sun today. But Ruri declines the offer, stating she isn't that hungry. Aoki tries to play it calmly and asks Ruri to let her know if she changes her mind. Just then, another episode of Ruri emitting electricity happens. This panicked Aoki as she wasn't expecting it at a time like this. She quickly stops the car and asks Ruri to hop out of it while keeping out of sight. Last night, when Ruri came back from school, Aoki and Ruri discussed the latest dragon thing that happened to her during school hours. Ruri said after all this, nothing much could surprise her. She asks Aoki if, as she had said earlier, dragons can actually call lightning. She wanted to know a little bit more about this. Aoki said she was sure this was related to calling lightning. The odds are that Ruri's latest trait is a perk connected to that. Ruri asked Aoki if she thought she could call lightning too. While tanking Ruri's wet uniform, Aoki said it is hard to say she can do that. There are a bunch of traits like that. Big bad forces of nature, basically, and, like it or not, they are her genes. Aoki added that this wouldn't be the end of the world, except that they are popping out unprompted. She said when they were wrangling the fire, she realized that her traits were probably in a frenzy. Ruri asked if this was bad news for her, but Aoki said it was no reason to celebrate. That was all she could say right now. She could not imagine if Ruri fired off an actual lightning bolt. So they are going to do whatever it takes to keep that lightning in the bottle. With that, she gave a towel to Ruri and asked her to keep it on her head. She said she will fill her in tomorrow. It will be a high-octane day and asked Ruri to get some good night's sleep. Ruri asked if she was skipping school again, but Aoki reminded her that tomorrow was the weekend. Ruri does a big sneeze, which makes Aoki laugh. She said she already saw this coming, so she filled the bat and set it to stay hot. She asked Ruri to get her back to full strength. Whatever happened today that Ruri isn't telling her, it can wait. They won't have any tough conversations tonight. With that, Ruri had a good bath at night and then went to bed. Now at present, Aoki gives Ruri a band and asks her to slap it on her wrist. Upon some questions, Aoki explains that it is an anti-static band. Wearing that should hopefully prevent more uninvited zaps. The latest move in her arsenal is basically a jumbo-sized static shock, so this thing might do the trick. Ruri asked if this anti-zap bracelet was made specially for dragons, but Aoki says she simply bought it online. Since it is just a temporary band-aid, she asks Ruri to be sure to take it off and let loose once in a while. She takes a relieving sigh, wondering if it was a close one. After this, they bought some tea and got back on the road. Ruri asks Aoki where they are going in the first place, as she hasn't been told about it yet. Turns out they ended up in a sports complex. Confused, Ruri asks Aoki why did they come here, but Aoki simply asks Ruri to have some patience. She says they should register first. She says she should have known that this place is jam-packed. Aoki checks them in while Ruri keeps asking why they came here. But Aoki doesn't reply. She simply asks if they should play hard to get in some much-needed exercise. She says she hopes Ruri is ready to sweat. Ruri asks what about that lightning risk. But Aoki says there is no need to worry about that, as that's part of it too. She asks Ruri if she is not doing so hot with the fire. Ruri agrees, stating sometimes she can make the fire happen, but sometimes she can't. Aoki tells Ruri that she can blame the frenzy state for that too. It is responsible for the random outbursts and the dry spells. And it is proof her body isn't functioning quite well. She says these functions are controlled by blood flow. It all circles back to how much her blood is pumping, which leads us to exercising. With excitement, Aoki says she hopes Ruri is ready to rumble. While Ruri thinks Mother of the Year over here just wants to kick loose. With that, they first decide to play basketball. Aoki plays it better than Ruri. Because of this, Ruri struggles the entire time. Aoki laughs at Ruri for being tricked by a 36-year-old. She asks Ruri to step it on. While catching her breath, Ruri asks Aoki where she got those skills. But Aoki asks Ruri to show some respect to her mama. Irritated, Ruri takes the basketball this time, but Aoki asks her to shoot it. She asks if Ruri is even trying to score. With little to no effort, she takes the ball from Ruri and makes the score once again. This ends their game by 10-0. She looks at Ruri, catching up her breath, and apologizes for going too hard there. She suggests they try something else. With that, they decide to play badminton. But the same happens again. Aoki is too good at this. Ruri thinks about how is her mom, Aoki, so good at literally everything. She loses every time. She thinks she can't let Aoki stomp her like this. But she guesses she hasn't seen this side of Aoki in a while, and they are having fun, so she guesses it is fine. She thinks this place could be a good time with some actual friends. Not that there is anything wrong with a girl her age hanging with her mom. May this is cringe, but she will trust Aoki and give this a shot. After this, they play baseball. Again, Ruri is not good at this sport as well. Aoki says it will help her if she keeps her eyes open, as Ruri shuts her eyes whenever the ball is thrown towards her. Ruri says she can't open her eyes as she is too scared. Aoki asked what can she even do. After striking out with tennis, volleyball, and soccer, she asks if Ruri really is her daughter. She tangles in and lets Ruri know how to play like a pro. With that, Ruri watches her mother play. As usual, Aoki sails like a pro champion at every game. Every ball smacks far somewhere. Annoyed, Ruri tells Aoki that she isn't looking so smug about all this. But Aoki says that is what a top batting average looks like. She asks Ruri to try it out now, but Ruri denies, stating she could never play like this. Annoyed, she asks how did Aoki get so sporty. After this, Aoki gets too tired. The game wiped her out. She asks if Ruri could have a breather. Ruri agrees, as she also needs a minute. Ruri asks Aoki if she is sure playing games is helping her. She asks Aoki if she has ever seen a dragon call down lightning or whatever, because it is kind of hard to imagine. Aoki says she saw it once only. They had an argument, a big one, and he clapped back with an actual thunderclap. Ruri asks if they really didn't get along at all. But Aoki says she just asked him how it worked, and he explained that dragons use thunderclouds to call lightning. They fly around through the clouds, and during those little rampages, the electricity in their bodies gets released as lightning. It is a way to vent the electricity stored up inside. Ruri asks if electricity gets stored up, to which Aoki agrees, stating it naturally accumulates in dragons' bodies. Ruri asks why that happens. Aoki says that much knowledge is beyond her. It may be like when people get a static charge. She says too much buildup is bad for Ruri's health, so she needs to let it out every now and then. This makes Ruri what kind of a swell tray she has. Ruri says she can do the lightning thing, but she can't soar through the clouds. Aoki agrees, stating this is why it is sort of leaking out of her. She says that the first accidental outburst wasn't totally a bad thing. That released Ruri's buildup. Plus, now they know this is one of the things she has inherited. However, Ruri will be in trouble if this keeps up. So they need to make sure that these random discharges stop before Ruri figures out how to release the electricity on her own. That buildup could do a number on her body, or worse, she might produce actual lightning. After this conversation, they decide to have something to drink. Ruri asks how is all this gaming going to help, but Aoki says she doesn't know that. It is hard to be sure of anything about Ruri. After all, she is the first ever dragon-human hybrid. Aoki says she figured that if they came here in the meantime, they would be sure to sweat the details and figure out what makes those traits tick. She assures Ruri that it will all work out, as she is part dragon after all. Aoki says the first step is to let her body figure out what it can do, because those draconic traits are part of the package. They are with her for life. She says it won't be easy considering there are 9 total. When Ruri hears the count, she spits out the water she is drinking. Shocked, she asks Aoki for the count again, but Aoki says it is not that she has witnessed them all herself. Worried, Ruri asks if she will have to deal with 9 traits. She asks if she is going to survive this. She sighs, saying she could have asked for a number beforehand, but it's on her obviously. She didn't ask about it. Aoki tells Ruri that she will give the full rundown one of these days. However, they can't be sure which ones she actually inherited. Ruri asks if the zappy thing is one of the 9, to which Aoki agrees, stating the fire spewing is also part of it. Ruri asks if human life even going to be an option for her. Aoki assures Ruri that she will be fine, but the worst case would be she can ship her off to her dad and she can live as a dragon. But Ruri denies the offer. Aoki says it was always the plan. She was thinking she would have him look after Ruri for a little while once the traits manifested. But then her teachers at school were willing to help. Ruri says that is news to her, like everything else. Aoki asks Ruri not to get her wrong, as she likes their life, and if this regular lifestyle works out, more power to her. But she asks Ruri not to let her stop her from picking out her dad, as dragons are a ton of fun. Ruri says she is not going to choose a bio dad she has never even met. She says she will put in the work to act as normal as possible, because a human life is all she knows. Aoki asks Ruri what next they should do. Ruri asks haven't sported out everything in here, but Aoki says they haven't seen any obvious changes in her yet. When Ruri is asking what kind of changes Aoki is talking about, Aoki finds their next adventure. Now, they get busy playing table tennis. They are playing normally, but Ruri is panicking at the same time. She throws the ball too far away. Aoki says full power isn't the way. She shows some pointers to Ruri, stating hips low, her arms should be tucked, she lean forward a little, and swing up at an angle using her hips. Aoki tells Ruri that she shouldn't be smacking it, but just sort of bouncing it back. With that, she helps Ruri play table tennis a little better. She asks Ruri to do the same thing when the ball is coming at her. She tells Ruri that she can manage this one. Ruri thinks this could be fine, as she doesn't have to worry about her horns at least. With that, they continue their game and Ruri plays better than before. Aoki is happy to see that Ruri got a hang of the game and says she really is her daughter after all. Ruri asks Aoki to stop talking as she is throwing her off. Aoki laughs, saying they should just rally back and forth for a while. Ruri asks why are they here, as there are a bunch of other ways to exercise. Aoki says she wanted them to hang out together, but they never really got to do it like this. Her schedule barely left her with any time for her, and she was busy studying. She is glad that they found more time with each other lately, but this is just her hobby. Ruri realizes that is her angle. She thinks she was thinking the same thing. Soon, many people gather on the site to look at them playing their game. They point out how they are going hard. People question what's up with that horn. Just then, someone spots Aoki. Within no time, the two are running away from the crowd. People are wondering what happened just then. They question if Ruri is glowing and where is the fire. Aoki and Ruri run towards the roof. They have to take the stairs though. Ruri asks Aoki to just vanish them if they really have to sprint upstairs after a sports marathon. Ruri asks Aoki why is this happening now. Her hands are tingly and body is hot and her horns are lit up. She asks if this could be it. Aoki tells Ruri that when her dad called lightning, his horns glowed. All signs point to this being the big one. Ruri asks how big are they talking while walking up the stairs. Aoki says she doesn't see anyone over there and asks Ruri to tear that thing off. She looks at Ruri's band and asks him to get on. She can rip that band later. Ruri quickly finds the spots and emits the lightning, which turns out to be just a small one. After that, they laugh at it all. They worried so much about it and made so much fuss over what? A small lightning spark? Aoki laughs, saying that scared her. Here she was ready for a lightning bolt to roast her. She says it was more of a human-sized zap. She says it's not so shocking that a person could only manage that much. Even Ruri's dad only did it once every few years. Ruri tells Aoki that she could have mentioned that from the start. She looks at her hand and says it calmed down. She isn't in pain like yesterday. Aoki says coming here did pay off. She says maybe Ruri will have a better handle on it now. Ruri does a lightning zap again and Aoki laughs asking if the lightning is under her command now. She says it is her power, so she should go ahead and put it to use if there is a humane way to do that. Ruri asks when can she use it in a human way. Aoki says she might be able to use it during self-defense. After that lightning encounter, the girls go back and play football. Ruri asks if the zap thing is over now. Aoki says she wouldn't be so sure. She had never witnessed it herself before now. She only heard about it secondhand, so she doesn't know the ins and outs. Ruri asks Aoki what she knows. Aoki says it is the first time she has given birth to a dragon's kid, so she will have to look into it. Ruri asks Aoki if she promises to stop her if she starts wrecking the town. She signs saying living a normal life is hard. She says there isn't any reason to cry over what she was born with. She might as well think up a use if she can. Aoki is about to leave as their time is up and lets Ruri know about it. She says it is a smart approach, tough as it might be and some good may come of it sooner or later. Ruri asks Aoki if she could even be any vaguer. Just then, Aoki gets a call from work and she apologizes as she is out right now. She excuses for stepping away. She apologizes and leaves, stating it won't be too late. Now, Ruri is left behind and wonders how can she pass some time. She looks around the arcade and thinks this place really has it all. She takes a seat at a gaming spot, wondering if being a dragon saps the energy right out of her. She is about to take some now while sitting when some people come over to her after spotting her. They laugh at finding her because of her not-so-typical horns. Ruri asks them who they are as she doesn't know them. The girls laugh saying they haven't really talked. Ruri is relieved that they haven't talked or otherwise, she is at the edge of feeling all sorts of guilt. They introduce themselves as Kurosawa from classes 1 to 3. The other girl says she is Hinata Tazaki, who sits behind her, to one side. Just then, another guy comes in. He asks what is she doing here sitting all alone. Ruri tells her that her mom is also here and she isn't alone. He suggests joining them as they have been wanting to chill with her. Hinata Tazaki tells the guy that Ruri just said her mom is also here and she isn't alone. Just then, Aoki comes in and asks Ruri to join the friends and have some fun. Kurosawa runs towards Aoki, stating it is good to see her again. Aoki says her lower back is done for the day and Ruri might as well pal around with friends instead of her boring mom. While Ruri is visibly exhausted, Aoki says she looks positively thrilled about all this. Ruri says she isn't trying to be rude, but she is kind of wiped out from hours of fun. The guide asks going downstairs and playing over there. With that, they all go downstairs and play bowling. Ruri throws the ball, but it lands into the gutter. The guy laughs, saying it is quite impressive that her gutter ball streak can't stop and it won't stop. Kurosawa also laughs, saying Ruri is really bad at bowling. Then she decides to try it next. The guy encourages Kurosawa, asking her to ace this with a home run. Ruri guesses this sport has built-in brakes. After that, while taking some pictures, the guy asks Ruri if she is here for some special reason. Tazaki says she already told us that she is hanging out with her mom and asks the guy to try and listen to her at least once. Tazaki says she could never hang out with her parents as they are quite boring. Ruri says they can all say that she is training. Kurosawa asks if she is trying to be the best dragon she can be. Ruri says they can say that, and this is pretty much it. The guy laughs and asks Ruri, once she becomes the mighty dragon or whatever, would she mind if he hop abroad for a flight? Kurosawa asks the guy if she looks capable of that. She asks him to try and use a single cell of his brain. Ruri stands up stating that is cool and says she can give free flights for everyone once she can. Kurosawa is shocked to hear that and asks Ruri if she means it. The guy says she might be just messing with them. But Ruri says she will, but she has a favor to ask in return. She says next time when they are here, they should message her so that she can join the fun. Kurosawa is happy to hear. The guy asks Ruri if she is sure about this as she only managed to knock down 6 pins. Ruri asks what if she throws a strike next. The guy says there is no need for that as it is just some bold claims. He says 1 strike is a ticket to join them though, and Ruri accepts the challenge. With that, Ruri takes the ball and strikes as she said, winning the new friend group. Her mother is sitting close to them and looking at them. Oki is happy for Ruri as she managed to win the challenge. After all the playing, the next day when Oki goes to Ruri's room to wake her up for lunch, Ruri is exhausted as her body is broken because of all the playing. The next day, Ruri is getting ready to go to school while it is heavily raining outside. She tries to wear her vest, but it gets stuck in the horns and is torn into pieces. Already getting late, Ruri ditches the vest and hurries to catch the train. When she reaches the bus station, she sees her best friend, Yuka. Yuka asks Ruri where is her vest, to which Ruri explains the trouble she had to go through because of the horns. She will have to go and buy a new vest now. Once seated on the bus, Yuka asks Ruri if she has been good. Ruri explains that she is good now. Yuka asks about the lightning situation that occurred last week. She asks if Ruri told her mom about this. Ruri replies saying her mom explained it, somehow while making a concerned face. Worried, Yuka asks Ruri if it is that intense. Ruri tries to not answer Yuka's questions, but Yuka simply asks Ruri to stop dodging her questions. With no choice left, Ruri finally explains that her mom doesn't think they have to worry about the electricity itself. It is not such a huge deal right now. Yuka asks more about it, and Ruri finally tells her everything she has been hiding. Shocked, Yuka gets concerned and says she would call this pretty intense, like a natural disaster. Ruri says she shouldn't probably blab to everyone about it. She says even then there is no guarantee she could ever actually summon a bolt. Yuka takes her bag and says it sounds like she is good for now. She bet Ruri will figure something out before then. With that, the 2 girls come out of the bus and head towards the school. Ruri has so much on her mind right now. The 2 are walking when someone calls them from behind. It turns out to be the silly Kashiro. Kashiro comes under Ruri's umbrella, asking if she can keep her dry. Confused, Ruri looks at Kashiro and asks what happened to her pigtails. Kashiro laughs it off and says it is a funny story, more annoying than funny. The teacher is always like, take your hair down, dye it black again, or ditch the earrings and all that jazz. Ruri says it is wild that Kashiro got away with it all for so long. She asks if the pigtails are what, pay the price? Kashiro agrees, saying no matter what, she is hot anyways. Yuka praises Kashiro for her confidence. Just then, the 3 come across Maida. This causes tension in the air between Maida and Ruri, as Maida runs away from the place. Yuka notices this and asks Ruri what's wrong. Kashiro asks if the girl was Maida. Awkward, Ruri explains that Maida just doesn't like her guts. Yuka asks what the reason behind this dislike, to which Ruri says she doesn't know. But it feels like she somehow wronged her. After that awkward encounter, they head towards the classroom where she finds the guy Ruri met on Saturday. He says that Saturday was fun. But Ruri doesn't say much about this and enters the class where her classmate asks if she has picked an elective yet. Ruri, who has 0 clue about what is happening, asks the guy what are they electing. The guy replies saying she has to choose a special course. He asks how does she not know about this. Just then, the teacher also comes in and greets everyone good morning. He is quite tired today. He tells the class that the forecast calls for rain all week, so don't lose those umbrellas. With that said, he decides first to do the announcements. He says, like he mentioned the other day, don't forget that they have got the big sports day coming up. Training will start soon, so psych themselves up for that. He adds that midterms are also looming and advises the students to mind their health in the meantime since they can't miss those exams. This time of the year can be rough, so hang in there and give it 110%. Ruri asks Kashiro about the big sports day. She asks if there is no rest for high schoolers. Kashiro asks Ruri how is any of this news to her. She guessed if there was a schedule change while Ruri was absent. The sports day got pushed back because of the rainy season. Worried, Ruri says she is going to burn out. But Kashiro thinks otherwise. She thinks that it is going to be fun. She also tells Ruri that a second half of the year is even more hectic with the school festival and all. As they are talking, the teacher calls Ruri saying her horns are a little dangerous piking out like that. Maybe they can come up with a solution for these horns. He suggests having a chat later today. Ruri agrees as she also knows she has some horns she has to deal with. And like that, the bell rings and a teacher leaves. During recess time, Ruri puts up a show where she shows off her electricity skills to everyone. All their classmates are amazed by the electricity. One of them says it is the same shock from yesterday. Someone says her hair looks like a shonen manga warrior. Someone says it looks like she is in control of it now. Ruri explains that she was practicing like crazy yesterday and maybe she was getting the hang of it, but then she got in trouble for doing that in the house. She gets a flashback of her mom scolding her for practicing the electricity situation inside the house. Ruri ties up her hair when a guy asks her if she is feeling okay now. Ruri replies saying it seriously hurts. Someone asks what is the science behind it. Ruri replies saying she doesn't know how it works. Maybe it is something like a special organ that builds up electricity. It is psi-like, always sucking up and storming static from the air. Her classmates say she seems like a portable charger. Ruri adds that the buildup is like poison for her body, so having this trait means she has to let the energy out sometimes. That's the story behind those spooky zaps last week. Someone compares these zaps with a fart as zaps are simply letting the energy out. Kashiro insists on touching the horn while they are static. But Ruri says she doesn't mind, but Kashiro will get zapped. The guide asks what is even the point. There is going to be a reason for it. Otherwise, why have a trait that hurts her? But Ruri simply says she doesn't know. Better go ask a dragon. Just then the bell rings and everyone goes to their seats. Soon, a girl comes inside the class and tells Ruri that the teacher asked for her to meet him in the staff room. With that said, Ruri leaves the class and goes to the staff room. She asks one of the teachers about Mr. Takemoto, who seems to be all the watch shoved in the corner of the room. As she goes to see him, the rest of the teacher look at her and asks if she is the girl with horns. Ruri asks Mr. Takemoto if he wants to see her. The teacher tells Ruri that her mom filled him in on the electrostatic discharge. Awkward, Ruri asks if her mom told him everything. The teacher and asks if this is all true. He says he couldn't stop laughing after hearing about the truth. But he has also heard she has got a plan. Ruri agrees, stating she guesses it can be called a plan. The teacher says from the school's perspective, he thinks it would be best not to rock the boat and just wait for the excitement to pass. He asks Ruri if she wants to keep this all a secret. Ruri says she wasn't planning to keep it a secret. The teacher says it is up to her what she wants to do with this. It is not his place to bring it up, so when she is ready, let them hear it from her. Ruri agrees to let everyone know about her reality. The teacher tells Ruri that this isn't the actual reason he called her. He says he wanted to chat about the sports day. He asks Ruri if she is leaning toward a particular event or not so much. Ruri replies saying she isn't a fan of sports or moving her body at all. The teacher says this is just what he wanted to hear. He says they just have to consider her horns, so he has a suggestion. He asks Ruri how would she like to join the Sports Day Action Committee. Confused, Ruri stands there thinking about what she has gotten herself into. Ruri replies saying she doesn't know what is that Sports Day Action Committee. The teacher says this is just what it sounds like. The committee is tasked with planning and executing the big Sports Day event. He is the staff advisor to the overall Athletics Council, and he has been looking for an extra helper. Normally, it would be a student council member or someone already on the action committee, but they are short-handed this year. So he was hoping Ruri would like to help him out. Ruri asks why would he dump this all on her of all the people. The teacher tells Ruri that she is perfect for the job. Ruri asks exactly, what about her Scream's event planning? The teacher says plenty of members of other committees and clubs are already in the mix, so he wants someone affiliated to join the team. Ruri asks if she has got nothing but time on her hands. The teacher says more or less, most of the class is already involved at school. Ruri declines the offer, saying this isn't her thing. Plus, she would end up being the center of attention with these horns and all. She asks if he thinks it makes sense to toss her into the deep end out of nowhere. The teacher agrees, saying having someone as special as her involved will only add to the hype for the event. Shocked, Ruri asks what is she, a carnival act. The teacher says those horns limit the athletic events she could even join. So this is the best way she can take part, making the most out of an unusual situation. She only gets 3 shots at events like this throughout high school, so it does matter. He says she has already admitted that physical activity isn't her thing, so she should consider this her doctor's note, so to speak. Ruri tells the teacher that he can't trick her. She knows the committee thing is going to be a ton of work, physical or not. The teacher says he will need an answer soon, though. Now would be great, actually. The gears are already in motion, much to do. After some more consideration, Ruri finally agrees to take part in the committee thing. After that, she tells her friends during lunchtime. Everyone is amazed as Ruri will help plant the sports day. Yuka asks Ruri if she is up for that. Kashiro says she never guessed that this would be her jam. Ruri replies, saying there is nothing wrong with getting involved sometimes. Kashiro says it sucks that she is already on another committee. She wishes she could join the sports on day 1. They ask what this group even does. Mayashida explains that they put together the schedule, set up the event, prep all the equipment, and communicate with each class. Yuka says Ruri was born to do all that junk. She asks Ruri if she is okay with this, as Ruri Yuka knows would never do any of this. Ruri says she is ready even though she isn't working from the goodness of her heart. She remembers the teacher telling her that to sweeten the deal, he would tell her what material would be on the midterm in advance. After all, it can't be easy being behind by a week. When her friends learn about this, Miyashito says the teacher is always working an angle. Yuka asks if he is resorting to bribes. She says he is such a slimeball. Ruri says she has got the permission to share the information with her friends. After hearing this, Yuka says the teacher is the best. The teacher pushed her hard enough and Ruri had a hard time saying no. They can see that. It seems like Ruri is a people's pleaser. More like a pushover. Kashiro says she guesses it seems Ruri is putting together their sports day this year. She encourages Ruri and lets her know that she has this. Just then, Ruri remembers something and hurriedly stands up and leaves after letting her friends know she has to be somewhere. Yuka asks Ruri if she is going to start the committee duties right off the bat. Ruri agrees and says there is always some task or another during lunch or after school. Yuka asks if Ruri is the only latecomer. Kashiro says she doesn't know. She adds that there is someone else from their class as well. With that, they wish Ruri the best of luck and Ruri goes to perform her committee duties. However, when she reaches the corridor, it turns out that Maida is also involved in the committee. Both look at each other with a concerned eye. Maida asks Ruri if she is also part of this. Ruri agrees and says she is looking forward to working with her. Maida says the same and starts walking while Ruri looks at Maida from behind, wondering how could the teacher not mention her. She wonders if that 4-eyed slacker threw them into a cage together on purpose. The 2 girls walk together for a bit and Ruri asks Maida if she can ask her something. She somehow calls her with a wrong name and Maida corrects her that her name is Maida. Ruri apologizes and asks Maida if she is also a helper. Is she also a last-minute addition? Maida asks Ruri if she has got some problem with that. Ruri quickly clarifies that there isn't anything like that. She is simply just curious. Maida asks Ruri why she cares, as it is none of her business. This makes Ruri sad as she wonders why is Maida always so arrogant towards her. She can't deal with her. She asks Maida if she knows what they are tackling. Maida asks Ruri if she doesn't know anything, to which Ruri responds saying no one told her anything. Ruri can't take this arrogant attitude of Maida anymore and comes forward to clear things out. She tells Maida that it is quite clear she doesn't like her guts. She kind of brought it up yesterday. Maida asks if they are doing this now. Ruri says Maida always brushes her off and everyone can see this. And the way she shut her down yesterday and told her not to talk with Maida. Ruri says she seriously doesn't know what she did to deserve that attitude. And if she is somehow reading her wrong, then she apologizes for it. She asks Maida to just tell her what her deal is. Maida responds to Ruri and asks why she feels the need to blurt it all out and make this a thing. Shocked Ruri stands there asking what does that mean? Ruri says she doesn't get it. She asks Maida what is she trying to tell her with this cold shoulder act. Just use your freaking words. Maida asks if Ruri seriously doesn't get it and wants her to use her words. Annoyed, Ruri agrees asking Maida to spell it out. She can't expect her to understand if she doesn't say anything. Maida gets more angry and tells Ruri to forget it already. Not everybody gets along and normal people don't force this issue. They don't say these things. Use your words. Maida asks Ruri what is she doing in kindergarten. Ruri responds saying she isn't the one acting like a total jerk with zero explanation. It seems like Maida never learned that in kindergarten. She asks Maida if she has something on her mind, she should just say it. Maida agrees and is about to say it when someone interrupts them and asks if they are from classes 1 to 3. She says the meeting is this way and asks if they are here for the sports day committee. With that, the two girls stop their argument and towards the meeting. The girls let them know that they can come straight to her or Kosaka if they are confused about anything. Ruri thinks she is glad for the interruption. They were this close to throwing down. They too enter the classroom already filled with tons of students. Ruri and Maida introduce themselves as students from classes 1 to 3. The students look at Ruri and comment about her horns. They wonder what is going on. They wonder if they sell hairbands like that. Someone questions if she is the one who spat actual fire. This full time, Ruri sits there trying to avoid the comments towards her. Just then, a girl asks Ruri if those things are growing in her head. Someone asks what's the explanation behind this. They wonder how can someone grow horns. Maida replies to them by saying it is just who she is, and it is not a big deal. The students ask Maida if she means some people just have horns. Maida agrees saying sure, why wouldn't they? Ruri is a little surprised to see that Maida is sticking up for her. She thanks Maida for her help. Maida says she wasn't involved with any clubs or committees, so she volunteered for this one. She wanted to do this, and that's all. So that is the answer to what Ruri asked earlier. Ruri asks why Maida chose this committee as it is a drag. Maida agrees saying it is. She adds, but why not? Why not pitch in and plan something the whole school enjoys? It is like making something fun for everyone. Just then, a guy decides to start the meeting. He says they have 2 newcomers from class 1 to 3. He asks if they would care to tell everyone who they are. Maida introduces herself as Akari Maida and Ruri says she is Ruri Oki. The girl sitting next to the boy asked if their teacher told them that the girl with horns would be joining. The guide asks if he wants a joke. Maida says the story is that Ruri is a human-dragon hybrid. The girl introduces herself as Makoto Ryuzaki, the student council vice president, and the guy, Shikuma Kosaka, is the student council president. Ruri is stunned to see that Makoto is the vice president. Maida reminds her that learned that at the entrance ceremony, but Ruri knows nothing about it. Makoto says that today's action items are to pick up where they left off and start planning the venue logistics. Kosaka decides to run through this and get out of there. The meeting is being held when Maida asks Ruri if she wants her to use her words. Maida says the truth is she doesn't like Ruri. Ruri asks the reason for disliking her. Maida replies saying it is because Ruri doesn't care about other people. After that, Ruri goes to the rostrum and reads out from the paper that the Action Committee has some updates for everyone about Sports Day. This week, they will begin preparing for the big event. In a moment, they will receive the schedule for the day of sports. Look it over, because athletes for each activity will be chosen at the grade council today. In particular, the rosters for ball games will be primarily selected from the existing teams and clubs. Next, each class will create a backdrop. This is a joint effort, so start thinking up possible designs. One backdrop will be chosen as the winner. Ruri is announcing everything to her class, while one of the guys from her class says Ruri is rocking this. Kashiro says she seems to be the right girl for the job. Whom knew she would be better to deliver this boring information all matter of fact? Maida stands next to Ruri while Ruri finishes her announcement. After that, she goes back to her seat embarrassed as she finds it terrifying. Kashiro asks Ruri if she and Maida aren't exactly besties. Ruri tells Kashiro that she already knows for a fact that they are good friends. Ruri asks Kashiro if they two are close or something, as Kashiro did invite Maida to have lunch with them the other day. She asks Kashiro if she knows what is Maida all about. Kashiro replies saying she and Maida are pretty close. They go way back since they went to the same middle school. She says she knows Maida inside and out, but what she doesn't know is why she wants nothing to do with Ruri. She asks Ruri if something has gone down. Ruri replies saying she asked Maida straight yesterday. It turns out Maida doesn't like her because according to her, Ruri doesn't care about other people. Ruri adds that she was too scared to follow up after that. Kashiro laughs hard, stating this is classic Maida. She says it is wild that Ruri asked Maida straight on her face. Kashiro says this is just how Maida is and asks Ruri not to let this get to her. Maida is a blunt object, or she could say Maida is direct and honest if they are being charitable. She says she best Ruri can relate. It is kind of cute that Maida stares daggers into people. She says that's why she thought Ruri would get along, but she was so wrong. Ruri asks where is the logic there. Kashiro says Maida isn't the total monster though and suggests talking to her. With that, Ruri continues studying for the time being. After some time, she hears Yuka asking to workshop whatever they have got. She asks them to show her so that she can at least offer feedback. It turns out she is talking to Ruri. When she looks at her notebook, Yuka says Ruri has just put words in a box. Ruri replies saying Yuka said whatever, so there is her whatever. Yuka says nobody said that graphic design was easy. Ruri asks Yuka not to waste her time on this. Yuka says to take the lazy way out when Ruri is putting real thought into it. Ruri says she is on the committee. She got to at least show everyone a sample. She needs to show something like a template. Yuka says it is not like there is some right answer for this. She asks Ruri if they gave her any old examples or references. Ruri agrees and takes out the templates. Just then, a girl comes to Ruri asking if she would like to check her designs and give some feedback. When Ruri looks at the designs, she points out that it was fast and she likes the designs. Ruri thanks the girl and asks if she can hang on to these as she might need them. The girl agrees and Ruri tells her that she didn't realize she was this good with graphic design. The girl says it is pretty fun. Yuka looks at the designs and says the designs are really good. She wishes Ruri the best of luck for the next year. Yuka realizes that it looks a lot like the one from 2 years ago. Kind of a different vibe though. Ruri says they are too similar. They are all very good. Yuka says maybe everyone's creativity will start flowing once there is a top contender. Ruri asks Yuka if she is good friends with Shioda as she chatted like it was nothing. Yuka denies it and says they don't have to be close to make small talk. They are in the same class. She tells Ruri that she should know Shioda by now. Yuka explains that Ruri doesn't need to be besties with everyone since class rosters get shuffled around every year anyway. Putting names to faces is enough to get by. Ruri thinks about the designs for a little and gets an idea. She makes some designs on the paper and shows it to Yuka. Ruri says she is going with the dragon theme again. She adds that she is trying to make a dragon, a carp climbing a waterfall, trying to transform into Ryu. Yuka tells Ruri that she could use the art lessons. Yuka suggests showing the idea to Mida. Ruri gets awkward and declines it. Yuka says they are committee buddies, and she should see Shioda's design too. She lets Ruri know that this won't work if Maida and Ruri can't work together. Ruri says she doesn't want to. Maida says that Ruri will go to Maida and show her the design. There are no ifs and buts anymore. And with no choice left, in the next break, Ruri goes to Maida to discuss the backdrop design thing. She asks Maida if she has come up with something. Maida says she worked on it a bit and asks Ruri if she wants to see it. She gives some designs to Ruri. Ruri is amazed by them and says Maida did a bunch of them. But Maida says this isn't all of the designs. She takes out all the designs. Ruri says they have another master artist here. Maida asks Ruri what she means by another. She asks if Ruri can draw. Ruri denies, saying she can't draw. She shows her the designs from earlier, saying someone gave them to her. Maida looks at the design and says she recognizes Shioda's work. She has some skills. Ruri asks Maida if she can tell Shioda made them. Maida replies saying everyone knows that Shioda is artsy. She is even making her manga. Maida looks at Ruri and asks if she has zero interest in other people. Ruri asks why she has to say it like that. Maida replies saying because this is the truth. She sits there silently for a while and then Maida apologizes to Ruri about yesterday. She says Kashiro said she could try dialing back the bluntness. And she already realized that she was kind of harsh towards Ruri. Maida adds that she meant what she said, but she wasn't trying to be mean about it. So she apologizes to Ruri for her behavior. Ruri responds saying she gets it as she asked about it. Maida asks Ruri if she draws something. Ruri agrees and shows Maida her design, stating she isn't proud of it though. When Maida looks at the design, she says she can at least tell what they are. Ruri apologizes, stating she knows she sucks at drawing. Maida asks if it is about a carp turning into a dragon's. Ruri agrees and is happy to see that Maida figured it out. Maida says fish struggling up the waterfall. Surely that vibes well with the sports theme. She suggests bringing Ruri's idea to the discussion today. With that, they have a meeting with the committee. Meanwhile, Ruri is busy thinking about how Maida apologized for her behavior. She wonders if the ball is in her court now. It is kind of eating her up. At lunchtime, Ruri apologizes to Yuka for ditching her even though Yuka has some shrimp to share with her. Instead, Ruri goes to see Maida and asks if someone is joining her. Maida asks Ruri why she cares. Without any second thoughts, Ruri grabs the seat in front of Maida and sits on it. She suggests having lunch together. Maida is shocked to see what Ruri just did. Yuka, Kashiro, and the rest are also in shock after seeing Ruri's bold move. Yuka and Kashiro never drop while Miyashido is concerned about Yuka. Kashiro asks Yuka if this is something Ruri normally does. Yuka denies, saying Ruri never leaves her side. Yuka asks why are they on such bad terms anyhow. Kashiro dismisses the question by saying it is a long story. But she ends up saying everything. Yuka realizes that Maida doesn't like how Ruri doesn't care about other people. Yuka tells her that Maida told Ruri straight to her face. Yuka is surprised to see that Maida is a straight shooter. Miyashido says that Maida's blondie is pretty twisted. Kashiro looks at Miyashido and asks if she is also joining the spy squad. Yuka says she disagrees about Ruri not caring about others. Meanwhile, Ruri is taking out her lunch when Maida asks Ruri to hold up as she doesn't agree with this. Ruri asks why not as this is just lunch. They don't need to talk or anything. So Maida agrees and takes her lunch out as well. Ruri asks Maida if she always brings her lunch, to which Maida agrees. Ruri finds this impressive. Ruri says when her mom is too busy to make her a bento. She knows she should make one for herself, but cooking is such a drag, so she just picks up whatever is in the cafeteria. But Maida ignores Ruri and checks her phone. When Ruri sees this, she tells Maida that she shouldn't check her phone while eating. But Maida replies saying who cares? It is none of anyone's business. She looks at Ruri asking if she can help her. Ruri says everyone seemed to love the submission from Shioda. She wonders if they will end up picking that one. Maida says Shioda is talented, but for all her technical skills, her work doesn't hit home for her. Ruri asks Maida what she means. Maida replies saying Shioda should put more of herself into her work. Although Shioda is pretty mild-mannered, so she guesses it is not bad how that's coming through in her art style. Ruri asks Maida how would she tackle this if she were Shioda. Maida thinks about it a little and then says she would put a wild twist on the motif. Past designs already used kitty cats, so maybe make one of them a tiger. The composition too. This piece should be telling a story. She says it is a waste of talent. She says talk is cheap. It is not like she has the skill to make that vision a reality. She will give Shioda credit where it is due. Ruri tells Maida not to be so hard on herself. She thinks Maida has got plenty of talent. Maida says she is nothing special. They are having a conversation while Kashiro and the rest listen to their convo. Ruri asks Maida if she has heard she is friends with Kashiro. Maida agrees. Ruri says she heard they went to middle school together and that they are close. Maida asks Ruri who exactly told her that. Ruri responds saying Kashiro herself did. Maida asks what fantasy world is Kashiro living in. She says she doesn't consider them close and never has. It has always been a one-way street with her and Kashmir. That doesn't constitute a friendship. She adds that this is all Kashiro's shtick. And those multicolor pigtails, spare them, please. A hug weirdly latched onto Ruri. Meanwhile, Kashiro is getting embarrassed as she hears everything. She is about to cry as she thought they were tight. She also wonders what is wrong with her hair. Maida says she doesn't like Kashiro either. Ruri asks why not, as Kashiro is a nice person. Maida says that the sugary puppy dog act is fake. It creeps her out. Sure, she is all smiles and funsies, but one has no idea what she is thinking. She says she might be nice though. Ruri asks Maida how she explains what she exactly has against her. She says she wants specifics. Maida gives a sharp look to Ruri while Yuka, Miyashita, and Kasiro get ready for some more tea. Maida says she keeps wondering what kind of a person asks for more details on why someone doesn't like them. She asks why pick at the wound like that. Ruri agrees, saying she doesn't want to know that, but she wants to know about Maida, whatever she wants to share. Maida asks Ruri if she is sure, as she doesn't exactly mince words. How should she dig at that wound? Ruri asks Maida to lay it on her. Stunned, Maida asks Ruri if she is being for real. Maida begins to talk about Ruri. She first targets Ruri's eyes. She says she is not the one to talk about them. Ruri says she has one before and asks if her eyes are that bad. Maida says Ruri gets a serious case of angry eyebrows when she talks to people she doesn't know. Before she knew better, she thought Ruri was giving her a stink eye. Ruri apologizes for that. Maida adds that ever since the day Ruri showed up with horns, she also had those slit pupils. Those freak her out. Shocked, Ruri asks Maida if this is true. She asks if she can borrow a mirror. She looks at herself and realizes she had those slit pupils. Maida continues saying that Ruri doesn't know people's names, and Ruri agrees, saying she can't deny that one. Maida says Ruri also gives zero sense of personal space. She says she also doesn't like how Ruri and Yuka have been joined together since the school started in April. She says it is full-on creepy and super gross. She says Ruri runs to Yuka crying over everything like Yuka is her mom. That is a major codependency issue. And that's why they can't make any other friends. The dynamic do, forever in their little worlds, talking smack about everyone else. She says that is some childish behavior, but Ruri needs to grow out of this and learn to communicate. Maida says she can't stand all that crap and she wanted nothing to do with Ruri. Meanwhile, Kashiro is enjoying Ruri's conversation with Maida while eating their lunch. Kasira says that it is harsh as no one says such stuff out loud. Miyashita also agrees while Yuka asks to lay off her. Maida asks Ruri if she is happy now. Ruri asks if there is anything else. Maida replies, saying she thinks that this is all, and Ruri continues to finish her lunch. Maida looks at Ruri and asks if she isn't going to mount a defense. She says she is willing to hear Ruri out. Ruri says she is kind of at a loss for words right now. She adds that just so they are clear, Yuka is not like her at all. Yes, she does stick to Yuka like glue, but she isn't the only one in Yuka's world. She is a pro at making friends, and she has got plenty of friends beside her. Yuka hears all this and is a little stunned by Ruri's defense. Ruri says Yuka is still nice enough to put up with her and asks Maida to not act like they are the same. Maida understands the whole situation and apologizes about Yuka's part. She says they don't come weirder than Ruri. Ruri agrees, thinking Maida is pointing at the dragon part, but Maida denies this. She asks Ruri if she is satisfied or if is she hungry for another beatdown. But Ruri says she is good. Maida asks why Ruri wanted to make this a thing. Ruri replies, saying she just wanted to know why someone doesn't like her. Plus, they are stuck together for this committee thing, so she might as well know. They will run into issues if she keeps rubbing Maida the wrong way. Ruri says she is going to make a genuine effort with the committee. Ruri says when she sees Ruri in action, it is clear she is serious about it, and Maida is allowed to dislike her in the long run if she wants, but maybe they can put that aside and get along for now. She asks Maida to let her know if she pisses her off again. She says she will try to make this work. Awkward, Maida agrees and says this is just a stupid sports day though, not a big deal. Ruri packs her stuff and says she is glad they could do lunch. Kashiro looks at Ruri and says she didn't expect Ruri to go this hard. Yuka asks Kashiro if she is that surprised. Kashiro says she has never seen Ruri to just chat with someone like this. Yuka says back in middle school, it was Ruri who reached out to her first. Shocked, Kashiro cannot believe it. Yuka says she is the one with zero interest in other people. Unlike her, Ruri is borderline obsessed with how others view her and treat her. So that is not how someone who doesn't care. But she wasn't making moves as bold as this back then. Yuka says she thinks it is because Ruri is surrounded by great people now. After lunchtime, Makoto and Kosaka ask everyone to break into their assigned groups. Just then, Maida comes to Ruri and tells her that the crap she said about how Ruri doesn't care about other people was wrong. She says she takes that back. Ruri looks at Maida with a blank face. Maida says she is still not a fan of her though. Angry, Ruri beats Maida and asks her to admit that she is pretty.